We can see at the history here, only getting that one win in the regular season here. Notably, though, for Flying Bugbears, that one win was against Mango Nectar, that, like you mentioned, Denji, #1 seed in that Barbarian division.
Yeah, knowing Flying Bugbears, they are my sister team in the same org. That was the only match they had their full roster available. every other match they played, they're either down, they're one of their DPS or one of their supports. So they've been kind of screwed by availability issues. But looking at the roster, as we have Impulse, Alfredo, Trixie, Tally, Carrot, Gosh, and Jolda. Unfortunately, I know for a fact that Trixie and Carrot are not there tonight. But they have Alfredo, Impulse, they have Tally there, Gosh and Jolda there. So shouldn't be a problem. Tally has been a pretty strong tank this season. I would say like one of the more improved ones. As Bro, I think went from I think he started the season off with Masters 4 and now he's GM2.
All right, that's a good climb. Good start here for Bugbears to have at least Tally in. On the other side of things, those who crow, January, Nifty B, Banana Shake, Naiatus, Kiddo, Fainter, and Kata Kiwi. So excited to see this team play. Definitely some familiar names for me. And of course, Denji, where you played in the B League, you're probably familiar with some of these players too.
I played a little bit with K in advanced tier last season of SPCS. I played it with Nifty in SPCS. I know Naiatus and Kiddo pretty well. I know Fainter as well. Banana Shake and Jada were the only two I really don't know. Still kind of find it funny though that Nifty and Naiatus have not switched their stuff off a deadlock thing.
Okay,
so...
I was wondering what that was. I'm so glad you
Nifty's is Mina from Deadlocked. I have no clue. I have no clue what Naiatus's is. It looks like that it looks like that gif. It looks like that one meme where it's like a wolf screaming and then there's just a chimpanzee just calm. Just there. I don't know. But yeah, Deadlock, I think Nox said it a week. Person believes that is Silver. I would have to get clarification on that, but I think Nox said a couple weeks ago. The Deadlock tournament kind of screwed up all the portraits because some people just didn't switch theirs off of Deadlocked heroes.
Yeah, no deadlock here tonight, folks. It is strictly Overwatch for the evening, and it is going to be that set control map selected here by Flying Bugbears since they're coming in as that higher seed. And well, you called it before we came on stream, Denji. Oasis is going to be map #1.
I may or may not have helped them warm up, so I knew which one they were going to pick.
Nice to have some insight here, but now it comes down to those hero bans. So this is where things are really going to shake up. Map #1, kind of setting the tempo for this first to 3. So you really want to start off on a strong foot here for both of these teams.
Yeah, and Flying Bugbears, you got to be careful about burning the ball ban early. Because if Naiatus is there, they could just say, haha, reverse card, and take Naiatus out and put Kiddo out. But no, they're going with the Mizuki ban.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, the support ban coming through here. I think a lot of the times I am seeing a support ban come out on map #1 for these control maps. A lot of the time, though, it does tend to be that Lucio where the team will instead run that Kiriko Mizuki backline. So I think banning the Mizuki here definitely is going to swing things kind of back over towards that Lucio Kiriko.
Yeah, and those who crow, answer back with a very, very targeted ban at Tally. Tally, one of Tally's best heroes is his Hazard, so taking away undoubtedly one of his main strength as a tank is his Hazard. He does play everything pretty seriously, but his Hazard is his main comfort pick.
Yep, we saw it on the roster scene, had that Hazard selected here. So you kind of mentioned, you got to be careful about burning these bans early here. So with those who crow taking the Hazard out of the mix, map #1, they're of course not going to be able to ban that for the rest of the series here. So I think right now for those who crow, if they're going to come out with a heavy hitting ban like that, they really need to make good use of it and get a win on Oasis.
Yeah, and of course, since we're in the playoffs now, the maps are no longer predetermined, and this will be the set order throughout playoffs. I believe until grand finals, because I think grand finals they do something a little bit different. But map pool doesn't change. We still have the same map pool that we've had since the beginning. But that's the only thing that changes is the teams can now select what map they want to play. But yeah, as Flying Bugbears, yeah, Alfredo's not going to play Widow. I'm just going to ignore what he was on for that. And those who Crow, of course, they're showing Kiddo on Wrecking Ball. Kiddo, if you know who Kiddo is, this guy is one of the best Wrecking Ball players that I've ever seen play, and only really rivaled by maybe Epic Shock.
And I think that playing the Wrecking Ball here, where Flying Bugbears banned that Mizuki, definitely going to be a beneficial pick here for those who Crow, as, alright, Tally is going to be over on the Diva as well, so also going to be benefiting from that Mizuki being out of the picture here. Interestingly, a lot of high damage here on the side of Flying Bugbears, where they have Impulse and Alfredo on the Vendetta plus Dion here, so I think that Nifty B on that Ana definitely going to have to be very, very careful here, because very much could be a target for a dive.
Yeah, so here comes the slam out from Kiddo, and almost actually drops Alfredo early as he has to use that dash to get out of the way and get some more help. But now, Tally already being chunked out of that mech very fast, and Jolba is kind of caught alone, and Jolba might go down. Suzu does save her, but now Kiddo is just entrapped in a small room with everybody around him, and Tally, without any support, will lose his mech and lose his life.
Yeah, the Diva down here. The point hasn't flipped up yet, but those two Crows very much do have the favor numbers-wise. Except they are down that tank here. They will be able to pick up the first captures here, and this is big for them because they're going to be able to get themselves kind of set up on the high ground around the point. Anyway, I'm going to delete the backline here from Flying Bugbears. And I saw a little bit of a late kill in this.
Yeah, and now Bugbears, their comp needs to be able to like find Ana and just jump on her because they have that burst damage with the Eagle, with the Vendetta, even with the bike of the Xion. But Nifty's doing a pretty good job just playing his distance, like just playing spots where you really can't access him without like going through the rest of those who throw before you can get to him. As Impulse up to the high ground, will meet get face full sticky bombs in the process. And now Kiddo in the back like trying to get rid of this Kiri, but Kiddo loses half of his HP. In the meantime, Tally is fine from Banana Shake off camera.
Yeah, that Xion down. That is going to be the spree out of the picture here with Kiddo falling very, very low. There's an opportunity for Flying Bugbears to try and flip this point. They will get the flip here, 44% for those who Crow, but they don't have those mines ready to go. Gonna dump them on the point here, so those who Crow are going to come back quickly.
They look to come back quickly. Impulse! Oh! But Impulse, he does manage to drop two. The mines do claim Jolda. Impulse at 9 HP will go down, but Bugbears are kind of okay right now because they still control the point, and Kiddo, he gets a couple kills, but he has to get out of there at something 100 HP. There's a dual bomb out from Tally. January has to use this again just to dodge that out. Continuing comes out from Joel, gosh. Bomb, do the Duke bomb from January up on the point, but Tally is just in the backline and finds Fainter, and Point is still in control, fighting Bugbears the entire time. Kiddo will fight Gosh, but Jolda just will reinforce the team with his orbital ray. Tally will drop January, and Kiddo is just left to his own devices spinning around the point. And at this point, you might as well just go die because you're just not stalling the points to your own favor. As Bugbears kept control that entire time.
Yeah, fantastic job there from Bugbears. I think Fainter actually ended up losing the title blast there in that fight as well. So those who Crow now going to be coming in with just that nano online to try and flip things over. Bugbears holding on to both these DPS ultimates, both of them on their own fight-winning ults here. So if Bugbears can just use one, they'll be set up for the next fight too.
Yeah, Nanoos comes out onto Kiddo here to start the fight, and Fainter will find Impulse early. Impulse has that centering blade of the airline, so he'll be able to use it this time. Here comes this spree from Alfredo, but he gets shut down by Banana Shake, and now Tally may have gone a little bit too far. Will get D-Mech in the end. Gosh will find January, who has gone over to the Vendetta. Nifty will drop Tally, and Fainter with a really good opening pick to get rid of that Vendetta and then the possibility of that centering blade out of the way.
Yeah, Fainter's done a fantastic job on this Wuyong so far, putting in so much damage, and yeah, even finding the opening kill onto that Vendetta. So now, Bugbears, 90%, they need to win one more fight here, but that blade is all they're holding on to ult-wise, and they're not even really close to a whole lot of other ultimates. Those mines ready to go for Kiddo, and putting them right in the spawn.
Yeah, and he's taking a multi-ball perk too, so he gets that extra little bit of mind field. Impulse leads a face full of them, has to just wait for his team to try to break him to get through, and now he's kind of caught off, and Impulse has to live. He's the only ultimate that his team has online, but the slam will claim Alfredo in the meantime, and now Bugbears, this is getting the final fight territory. Tally loses the mech at 94% of bomb, no remake opportunity. Jolda will find January to trade though, and now Impulse And Gosh on the point. Gosh will prolong the life of him a little bit longer. The Impulse and Gosh will drop as Kato finally finishes the fight, dropping Jolda. And Bugbears, I don't think they'll be able to touch. Alfredo barely gets a touch on. Gets a touch, but now it's up to Tally, and Tally's just a little bit too far away to probably get the touch, as he will not be able to get back in time.
Great stuff here from those who crow. Some messy fights between both of these teams, but definitely a very, very close first point here. It's nice to see kind of those who crow making good use of Kiddo on this Wrecking Ball. Tally, I think, doing a good job on the Diva, but just having a little bit of a harder time kind of staying in the mech, building up to the bomb. I think especially where there's so much of that poke damage that is coming in from Banana Shake on the Xion and from Fainter on the Wuyang.
Yeah, now, what will you do if you are Bugbears here? You had your one for the Vendetta comp was working pretty well, but Impulse is having a tougher time like getting in and finding targets. January can kind of just like crash with Kiddo. He doesn't have to rely on his Diva to be like in position. Kiddo can just kind of call that he can roll through, and then January can crash. But Kiddo already with a little bit of nuisance, Power Driver will knock up 3 people in the open fight. Off camera, January's found Alfredo already.
Good start here for those who crow as we see Impulse chasing down on this Wrecking Ball, but not really going to be able to find an limb onto that. Just forcing the reposition here for the Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, Impulse may have gone a little bit too far. He will survive in the end with some great help from the supports, and now Banana Shake may have gone too far. We'll get that mini pack and get out alive, and now we're just playing a little bit of tiny Overwatch as everybody's in that small room. They will clear out of there. And Kiddo on the point. Tally loses mech. Tally down early once again. And Banana Shake finds Alfredo as well as Gosh, Jolda, and Impulse will all follow soon. And those who crow doing a pretty good job. They're doing a pretty good job of just like causing chaos. They're not letting Bugbears do anything.
Yeah, and that's exactly where you're going to find value in this Wrecking Ball composition, is trying to get Bugbears split, so it's making these one-on-one fights here, and those who grow coming out on top of those fights. Flying Bugbears, we mentioned it when we came into Oasis that Nifty B on this Ana was probably going to be a dive target, but we just haven't really seen a coordinated dive to try and force out that support.
No, but here comes the dive trying to get rid of Fainter. The Fainter manages to live in January. Will find Impulse once again. Mega Pack will prolong Ty's life a little bit longer in this next, but Kiddo will find Gosh. January will team at Tally, and there goes Tally. Actually, does assist in Alfredo taking out January, but the rest of his team will die from the wayside. Now Impulse thinks better of it, goes over towards the Cassidy instead of the Vendetta. Alfred also off the Xion towards the Genji, so a little bit of switch up from the DPS line of Bugbears.
Yeah, I mean, I see it. You gotta change something up here. It is just not working, playing that Vendetta Xion comp into those who crow here. But, of course, those who crow gonna have a massive ult advantage now to work with.
Yeah, and Minefield, it splits Tally from the rest of his team, and everybody from playing Bugbears is kind of split up. Kiddo does go to half HP and is getting hounded down by the Scary in the choke. Ball out from Tally just to remake, won't find anything. Fainter thinking about Title Blast, but Tally can't get back in the mech, but Ashake denies that. Alfred needed out. We'll choose it on the end. The Impulse will find the Ashake with a little help from Alfredo. But Kiddo will find Impulse, and this fight's taking place completely off the point, so Bugbears aren't even trying him in a position to flip, and now we're in Final Fight territory. And those who crow have 4, maybe 5 ultimates coming.
Yeah, I mean, you can see here, Kiddo is just kind of forcing a fight right at the spawn doors here. Flying Bugbears are going to be scrambling, trying to get a touch. They do have both these support ultimates, but you gotta trigger overtime first.
Yeah, it looks like they will trigger the OT, but the Sundering Blade will claim Gosh. The orbital raid does come from Joel, but doesn't to try to find anything. January will find Impulse. Tally finds January. Alfred will find Nifty, but Banana Shake will find Joel. Then Minefield on the point Tally. And Alfred are the only 2 left alive. Alfred will die to the Minefield of Kiddo, and now Tally and no mech will get knocked around. Finally will go down to Fainter, and that will be the first map going to those who crow in a pretty dominant fashion on that second point.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, it looked like a lot of back and forth when we were over on Gardens here, but yeah, City Center, it was all those who crow, and I really think that this combo of Kiddo on the Wrecking Ball and then the Vendetta as well, it was just so hard for Tally to stay in that mech because you're not able to DM any of the damage from the Vendetta, and Kiddo able to just kind of roll through the Diva as well. So really, really good stuff from those who crow on this Wrecking Ball composition, and pairing really nicely with the DPS.
Yeah, now Flying Bugbears, they do get to pick the next map, which will be hybrid, but the thing is, in the back of your head is like, what do you ban? Because if you ban, there's always a possibility that if you ban the Wrecking Ball, they just sub Kiddo and put an eye in, and then you've burned that ban. And unfortunately for Bugbears, you don't have that luxury of just baiting a tank ban because Tally is your only tank.
Yeah. The good news for Flying Bugbears is that hazard ban is now out of the picture. So, you know, we said going into Oasis, if those who crow are going to ban the hazard, they very well need to make good use of that ban. And winning Oasis 2-0 fashion, looking pretty good for them. So Flying Bugbears being in control of that hybrid map, they have the opportunity to maybe hold on to the Wrecking Ball ban and instead focus on a hybrid map that is going to be a little bit less favorable for that hero.
Yeah, and if you pull up the map pool, I'm trying to remember what hybrid map was not really favorable for the Wrecking Ball that's in our pool, and I'm pretty sure like 3 of the 4.
Like Midtown, maybe?
Like Midtown's like probably your best. Neon Junction might work, but it's a lot newer. You definitely don't want to go to Numbani, even though you do like to play Hazard. Numbani will just be Wrecking Ball's playground. Kings Row, you can't get away with Wrecking Ball like technically all of these maps, but it's a little tougher in Midtown and Neon.
Yeah, I'm thinking that as well. So, and I'm thinking, like, where would the hazard be really viable as well? You know, Midtown, I feel like first point, kind of hard to work with that hazard. As you get into, like, second and third point, where there's, like, a little bit more high ground, you can find a little bit more value. Neon Junction, a lot of those really long sight lines, so it can be hard to kind of take the space as a hazard without having to use all of your cooldowns to do it. So, Flying Bugbears definitely have a lot to think about right now in terms of the map selection. And, of course, those hero bans are just going to be another layer onto things. I think that where it's going to be a first to 3, Flying Bugbears very, very much want to hold on to some of those more impactful bans, maybe for the map after this one.
Yeah, and I feel like they're going to pick Numbani because they're just going to want to play Hazard, but you're kind of playing into what those who crow want to do, because if those who crow you go to Numbani, the kiddo's just going to play Wrecking Ball. Even if you ban the Wrecking Ball, Nia comes in and he plays Winston. Unfavorable matchup for Winston into Hazard, but still, even if you lose that map as those who crow, then you're like, okay, they don't have the ball ban anymore. We can just put Kiddo in for the rest of the time, and then Nia also fulfills his one map of required playtime from BPL.
Yeah, they'll definitely have to play at some point here, if possible. So maybe we will get to see a little bit of Winston. But like you mentioned, the hazard is a pretty good matchup into that. So those who crow would probably have to look at something that a hero ban that could maybe stop a little bit of that empowerment onto the hazard, whether that's one of the DPS that are kind of following up on things, or one of those supports that are trying to really keep the tank going here. We did see Flying Bugbears mostly playing the Juno Kiriko backline, so that is going to give, of course, a bit of speed and a bit of utility to that front line as well.
Yeah, another reason why I honestly think they're going to do Numbani is Jolda favors Ana heavily over the other flex supports. So if you want to play Ana, you would go to Numbani. That being said, the other thing I want to mention is, like, without Secured is their traditional main support person, like the Brig, the Lucio person. Since he's not here, they have to basically work with what they've got, which is double flex, which is Gosh and Jolda are both flex supports. So not having that, like, defensive capability of, like, a Lucio or Brigida might be coming back to haunt them, especially against Wrecking Ball, which Wrecking Ball usually always eats double flex support comps alive.
Yeah, I think we definitely saw that on Oasis as well, although it was the Juno Kiriko, and you just don't really have the boop capability to really protect the support from that Wrecking Ball. And, well, I love that we did all this theory crafting about all the hybrid maps we could go to, but it's going to be Kings Row.
it's good old Kings Row, as this map has barely changed. I don't think it actually has changed at all since it was introduced. It's like one of the few maps that have not been reworked, and honestly, it doesn't need to be. It's even in Overwatch 2. It's like, I mean, first point maybe a little bit, because first point you can just, like, either get rolled or full of health. It really depends on how you play. But now we have the map selection. Now we have to move into the ban phase, and I think Bugbears might get first ban, or I don't know who gets first ban off of this. The rules, like, there's nothing in the rulebook. There's nothing in the rulebook because they put playoffs will be added at a later date, and it's been a later date, and there's still nothing in the rulebook to do with playoffs, so we have no clue.
It's entirely vibes-based, hero bans. Don't worry about it, everybody. It'll all work out in the end. But I do think that the King's Row pick, you kind of mentioned earlier that, you know, you can force the Wrecking Ball here. It's a little bit tough, but it is going to be those who crow that are going to ban first, and they are going to protect ban that tank by taking the Ramantra off the field.
I don't think you're too mad if you're Bugbears there. Tally does play Ramantra, but I don't think he's planning on playing Ramantra. I think he's probably just planning on playing the Hazard. Now, if you're playing Bugbears, you could just get rid of the element of the Wrecking Ball comp that was giving you trouble. I.e., maybe the Xion, or I don't think they would ban the Vendetta because one of Impulse's comfort is Vendettas, but they will get rid of the Lucio to try to prevent Fainter from playing that, but Fainter might just play Wu Yang again.
Yeah, and the Wu Yang looked really, really good from Fainter as well. It paired really nicely with that Wrecking Ball comp, so I think that, yeah, we definitely could see that. Makes a lot of sense for Flying Bugbears to take the Lucio off the table. Like you mentioned, they don't have a main support player in, so I think that, yeah, taking the speed off the table in that form, very much expecting that we're gonna end up still on like a Juno. Maybe we'll get to see Jolda over on the Ana as well, because sometimes she does get to make an appearance, at least on first point at King's Row.
Yeah, first point, just because there's a lot of high grounds you can play around as the Ana to move around. Second point, there's high grounds, but there's like the one high ground that you sit on is like just staring dead face in the choke.
Yeah.
And the third point, you can't access either one unless you have a Symmetra.
So, yeah, I don't think that that's the play, you know, play the sim just to get the Ana onto the high ground. Never know, there could be a strat in there somewhere, but...
There could be Twisted Minds in there.
Yeah, that's right. I do think, didn't really mention it too much, but I do think that Nifty B could potentially be back over on the Ana as well for King's Row. I think that some of those nanos onto Kiddo worked out really, really well for them. So there's a potential for both of these teams to have a bit of flexibility in the back lines, especially where, you know, the Lucio Kiriko just not a must pick anymore.
Kiddo, you are not playing Ryan, we know that. As Kiddo says Ryan. As January, he is not actually doing that. We can obviously see that as he is on the spherical shaped object controlled by a hamster.
Yep, no surprise there. It is going to be Bugbears on the defense first here. Tally with that signature hazard. It is going to be the Juno Kiriko backline for Bugbears once again as well. And then we're going to get to see Impulse over on the Mei. A very classic hero, I think, here for King's Row first point defense. I don't know how much value it will necessarily get against this comp that those who Crow are coming out with, because of course Kiddo going to have a lot of mobility on this hero.
Maybe, yeah, a lot of mobility. I don't think they're going to try to isolate Kiddo. They're probably just going to try to go for Fainter or Nifty. Because the funny thing is, if you wall the paper doll of the Mizuki, he can't return to it.
Oh, good to know. All right. Yeah, and that's going to be the Mizuki Ana coming out here. So Mizuki, of course, was banned out. Map number 1. So it's going to be on the table here for those who Crow as we head into King's Row. No Xion to be seen here, but January is still going to be on that Vendetta.
Yeah, Tally just takes a beating in the front. I think he has Chain and Flash, but he does get all that CC utility out. He does get out alive in the meantime. Kiddo is, I think, somewhere. He's in the hotel, but he does drop the heavy speed. Has to probably just get back to the field. They get from Tally, but sleeps our Chain flashbang. Oh my god, this guy's poor guy's getting the main thing experience, and he won't go down. In the meantime, Kiddo will also find Gosh, and poor Tally just took all that CC in the face.
This is going to be probably a point cap here for those who Crow, and really just fighting at the mental of Tally here. Yeah, all the CC onto that hazard. Gonna make the swap over onto the Sigma here, so you are going to have a nice little bit of cooldown cycling to try and negate some of that CC that's gonna come in. Interestingly, Impulse is going to move off the Mei over onto the Sierra as well. I feel like this is a hero we don't get to see a whole lot, but she does have a lot of mobility and a lot of kind of burst damage potential, which is going to be really important with Tally now having these accretions to work with, and Gosh having that chain to work with on the Mizuki.
Yeah, and also Sierra's like having like I don't know what to play, so I'm just gonna play Sierra pick in my opinion. As here, Kiddo doesn't find Alfred immediately with that slam, Chain will go out onto Tally, and now the rest of his Bugbears is trying to back him with Impulse. Will meet the wrong end of the sword from January. Kiddo will just go bowling and crash through Tally, and Kiddo and Fainter will find Gosh and Jola. Gosh, in the meantime, did switch over to the Mizuki.
Yeah, right, and that's gonna give you
yeah.
that. Oh, yeah, all right. This is gonna be a little bit of a pizza on the point here, pizza party for those who crow as they push this payload more than halfway through Streets phase here. They have not had to commit a single ultimate. Impulse is going to make another swap here over onto the Tracer. Does look like Bugbears are staging for a recontest here, but they're walking into 3 ultimates from those who crow.
Yeah, here comes the mindful out early from Kiddo. Chain won't land from Gosh, but Gosh will go down. Impulse, though. Impulse combined with the entirety of his team will find out Kiddo, but Tally, who's trying to make a point, goes down. Alfred will find Banana Sheep, but the point capped. But the point did get capped. Alfred, with his side block, will drop Fainter, but all for naught as Bugbears are able to find Kiddo early, but then the point just goes through. January just finds Impulse at the very back end, just staggering the Tracer a little bit.
Yeah, and Nifty B, I think, has just been set up on this payload through the entirety of Streets phase, and now into third point. They're going fast here, and it's going to be another Nano out on a January.
Yeah, the Nano out on January. Alfred is taking the brunt of everything, and Finishing finds Tally in the meantime. Kiddo will find Alfred. Fainter finds Gosh. As so far, it's just been a bloodbath for those who go. And Impulse will find Kiddo, but he will die again late. And now Bugbears, they have another Deadeye from Alfred, and there's Orbital Ray. And they're just gonna use the Orbital Ray. And the Deadeye try to reconvene, but a really good kite out from those who go. But Fainter did commit the Kai Sanctuary, maybe a little bit haphazardly, as I think their target was able to get out without him using that.
Definitely looked like those who throw were already planning for the disengage there when that Sanctuary came in. So this is a big opportunity for Flying Bugbears. They have the Pulse Bomb to work with. If you can find one of these supports in the back line, that is going to really open things up, because right now, those who grow just have not let off on the aggression here. Everybody doing such a great job of following up on these pile drives that are coming through from Kiddo.
Yeah, but Alfred is able to find finally the first pick for the side of Bugbears. Is able to find January. The Manshake finds Impulse. Kiddo in the meantime finds Gosh, and Deadeye out. Tally takes a giant chunk of damage. And Tally's the only one who can really hold down this point. As they have to buy time for Gosh to return with his Kakai Sanctuary. Tally goes down. He needed to stay alive in order to get the point. Manashake will find Alfred. Kiddo's lines will find Impulse, and that's 3:37 on the clock for those who crow in OT rounds if Bugbears are able to force the OT rounds at all.
Yeah, that is a pretty hefty time bank to complete King's Row with. I don't think that we saw a single fight on Streets phase. At third point, you know, maybe we got 1-2 fights, but those who crow just foot on the gas the whole time, and really Bugbears were just kind of stuck in this kind of cycle of getting staggered out and not being able to kind of answer back with an ultimate. Those who crow just going first in every single fight. The last one there, Impulse and Gosh both had the ults online, but both end up falling first, so they just can't get them out.
Yeah, and it's just been kind of just a case of staggered fights. As when Bugbears lose a fight, they don't lose it cleanly. They have a couple players that die late, and then you're waiting for respawn timers, and you're not able to group up, and you're giving so much space and meter edge to the enemy team by then. And Kiddo's just been a nuisance this entire time, just always in a place to try to jump the backline.
Yeah, right, and that's the one where really the only time that we're seeing Flying Bugbears kind of get a first pick in the fight is when that kind of engagement is desynced between Kiddo and January. A couple of times there at the end on third point where January kind of went in after Kiddo was always already on the way out, and that's where Bugbears were able to actually get in a limb here. So if those who crow can just kind of tidy up these engagements, Bugbears are going to have a mountain to climb here to try and find opening picks in these fights. But they are going to bring Impulse out on that Vendetta. Alfredo on the Genji as well, so looking for some heavy engagements of their own.
Yeah, Impulse already loses all the half of his health, and Kiddo just being a nuisance once again, is rolling through, crashing through the entirety of Bugbears. And Banashik will find Alfredo, well, as Tally's engaging. Now Tally, all alone, will die to the hands of January. Impulse trying to find a trade desperately. Will actually manage to trade out Impulse before he goes down. Not Impulse, Nifty before he goes down.
Okay, first death on the board here for Nifty in King's Row. Gosh taking down Banana Shake as well. So two slow heroes to get back into this fight. If Flying Bugbears can get a quick regroup going here, they have an opportunity to take a fight up in numbers and maybe get some percentage in.
Yeah, Faker gets caught on the back. The chain does land onto Tally, but you can only chain one of those targets, as Alfred will find Faker out in the end. And now Bugbears are starting to get set up on point as those who grow. It looked like they had a really good fight win, but then Bugbears are able to trade. But now Banana Shake suddenly just out of nowhere finds Alfred and Impulse. January will find Gosh Tally with a desperation will find Nifty out with the wall. But Bugbears just have to sprint down and get the heck out of here as Tally's desperately trying to, but he will not be able to get out. Banana Shake wins that final shot.
All right, 2 ticks on the board here for Bugbears. They didn't have any ults online for that, but those pros didn't commit any ults into that next. So Flying Bugbears need to play a little bit slow here, get this downpour online, get these support ults online, because with just 1 tick that's needed, you can just dump into this fight to try and get that 33%.
Yeah, Chain already been coming from Fainter in the meantime. Here goes the Kitsune Rush out from Gosh. As Alfred gets slept on the side, but Banana Shake unable to find that kill. I think he got booped by, I believe it might have been Tally. And Tally finds Nifty in the back lane. Sundering Blade out from January will find nothing as he gets shut down by Impulse. Mines are on the point though from Kiddo. Kiddo, a lot of HP. Impulse goes down to, I believe, a mine, and then Kiddo rolling through them, and now Kiddo trying to stall without one. He's getting trying to allow his team to come back, but not enough health despite being that wrecking ball.
All right, there it is. Flying Bugbears capping up first point here. Great defense from those who crow, but Bugbears getting those 2 early ticks on the point. Just needed that one last one as we head into Street Phase. It's going to be an adjustment here. January off of that Vendetta is going to move over on to the Pharah here. Of course, no hit scan on the side of Flying Bugbears, so a lot of opportunity to do some damage.
I don't think they need a hit scan if Alfred's gonna do that. Deflects a rocket directly back into the face of Banana Shake. Nano Boost out onto Kiddo. Downpour does come down. And it actually does match a lock up Kiddo so that Nano Boost just doesn't get really any value at all. Nifty B ends up dying in the meantime. And now Bugbears is starting to gain some momentum, but they have to deal with this wrecking ball as Kiddo may have gone a little bit too far. Might be able to get out alive, and he will get to the rest of his team. But Alfredo, on a sail, trying to find that pick. January up in the skybox. Impulse says, I have business with you, and drags them back down to the floor, but January just able to get out alive.
Ooh, all right, Mines on the point is already going to pick up 2. Banana Shake's going to throw the Deadeye in just for insurance purposes here, but it's already going to be a fight win here for those who crow. They are going to stall out this point about halfway through the Streets phase here. They have just that Kikai Sanctuary online here from Faker. It's not going to stop either of these DPS ultimates that are online for Bugbears though, so have to see how Faker's going to opt to use that.
Yeah, Kiddo once again is already set up in the back line of Flying Bugbears. Here comes over the lane out early from Golda, and here comes Sundering Blade from Impulse, but he does manage to get it up there just in time as Nifty G and Impulse right with each other. Blade from Alfredo will find Banana Shake before he goes down to Fainter. Gosh finds January out in the meantime, so now it's just Fainter and Kiddo alive. Kiddo trying to hold on the point, but the Curious kind of being slippery. Gosh doing a really good job of fending off this wrecking ball right now. Tally will find Fainter in the meantime, and now Sam will get nothing as some denied by the Suzu, and now Kiddo has to really cut losses and get out here trying to maybe play for a small play, but now the entirety of Bugbears knows where he is, and he's just kind of stuck in his back alleyway.
Yeah, all very much aware here. January is coming back with the barrage here, but finally, Flying Bugbears get to go first in one of these fights, using this Kitsune Rush, creating a lot of space for them to try and slide this payload into second point.
Yeah, and Alfredo gets just assassinated out of nowhere by January with the barrage. He doesn't even need to find Jolda, but Impulse with the kid just says no fly zone allowed here. Finds out January with the Thundering, with the Soaring Blade. Tally will find the Nashake with that downpour, and now Kiddo maybe is able to touch, but no! Kiddo was just a little bit too high up the payload to touch it. Bugbears was able to sneak the payload in. That
worked out so well. Unfortunately, yeah, there are still mines on the point. Tally's gonna learn that the hard way here, but Flying Bugbears do get to move into third point. They already have less time on the clock than those who crow, so if they are able to complete King's Row, they're going to have a little bit less time to work with in those overtime rounds here. But I think that Flying Bugbears right now, if they're able to find Nifty B early in these fights, that is the best chance for them to win these engagements, because it's Ana doing so much work for those who crow.
Yeah, Nanobu's out onto Kiddo once again. Alfredo just caught in a hold of his and will fall to Kiddo in the meantime as Impulse has gone sightseeing in the back line, and unfortunately, those who are not friendly, and we'll find out Impulse in the meantime. Deadeye out from the Nash Shake because it's just Deadeye. Forcing to find a bunch of damage under the back line of Flying Bugbears, but will not find any kills unless Tally just drops from the heavens and lands and Nash Shake gets a free kill.
Brutal here for Flying Bugbears. They have to wait for Tally to come back online here before they can really push into this third point. They do have that orbital ray to work with. Jolda, she won the last fight for them when she had this online, so might be able to get a little bit of progress here for Flying Bugbears, but they're already so low. All of this token is coming in.
Yeah, but Nash Shake finds out Gosh early, so now you have to wait for your gear to come back in January, finds out Impulse in the meantime as well, and now Bugbears, they have to get out even without Stinger, as Jolda is a singular HP, has to live, but now those who grow a couple ultimates online, Bugbears have a couple ultimates of their own, but if we know anything about those who grow, Impulse is gonna Kiddo's gonna try to force this fight to take place in the spawn. Here comes the minefield, out early from Kiddo, and this guy will find Impulse, will find Alfred, and more pressure onto the Kiri, but Nash Shake will find Gosh, will find Jolda in the meantime. January will manage to drop Gosh. And now Bugbears, they have a lot of all these ultimates online, but those who crow are just forcing them to play in their spawn as Nifty is doing nifty things.
Yeah, this is space that's being controlled by those who crow. Great use of the minefield. They still have 2 other ults online, and they're gonna go first. They're gonna make it so hard for Bugbears to take space.
Yeah, Painter will die, but January manages to trade out Impulse and Alfred. Tally will find Nifty as Gosh goes out the map from Kato, and January will find Jolda in the meantime, so Tally, despite getting an opening pick, and as Painter's casting with the guy's entry, he goes down. And now it's just gonna be up to Tally to maybe touch the point, but Nash Shake so low. We're gonna grab the singular HP. Tally will find that pick. And here comes the consideration out from Gosh. Tally trying to chase forward, trying to get rid of this Mizuki. Down for it, will walk up a couple targets. January gets locked up. Deflects into their deflectable bench to claim them. Here comes the Thundering Blade off from Impulse. We'll find just a bunch of damage under the minefield. Nifty and Kiddo will drop a couple targets. Kiddo will find Impulse in the very end with the Nanoboost, and now it's just Jolda all alone on the point as those who girls go up to match point already. It was a pretty dominant showing, but it's still too soon. Alfred finds out Painter early. Alfred finds Banashing. There's a hero blade from Alfred. Alfred finds Nifty. Tally's still alive on the point. Kiddo as well, trying to thwart off the rest of these reinforcements coming from Flying Bugbears. We'll find Gosh in the meantime. The transfer from January has to blink away. Recall force out. Alfred doing everything he can to try to carry that as 4 kills from this Genji in a singular fight. Kiddo left to the sidelines on the Mega to try to do anything. Kiddo is just stuck in the backline. If he goes down, Alfred will find a fifth in this fight as Alfred comes online when Bugbears needed them the most and will manage to get them a second lease on life here perhaps. Tally though may have gone a little bit too far as he will fall to all those crowd control of those who crowd. January finds Alfred. The hero that Bugbears has by Impulse needs to step up to the plate now. Impulse will find out Painter in the Impulse trying to look for more kills, but they almost died. January will find Gosh. Impulse dropped too low. Now it's just Jolda all alone as what a massive effort from Flying Bugbears in that very last fight to try to force it over the line, but it's just not enough.
Unfortunately for Flying Bugbears, once that overtime spawn kicks in, those who crow are gonna get back to that payload a little bit faster, and yeah, the reinforcements are arriving. Bugbears not able to grab that point, so this is going to be now series point here for those who crow, as they're just 1 map away from securing their spot in the playoffs.
And now, you're Flying Bugbears, you have to think about maybe this ball ban, but you also have to know that Naya has to come in next map. If Naya doesn't play and those who crow 3-0 without him, then that is a real broken.
All right, if Nidus is available here, if they are here tonight, we're gonna get to see them in this next map. Now, Flying Bugbears are going to be in control of the map once again. It is that set map pool, so they already know what mode they're going to be going to. I believe it's a flashpoint? A push map. Okay, so this is gonna be pretty tough. I think that this might be the place to go for that Wrecking Ball ban, but like you said, you could just have Naidas kind of sub back in, but I feel like all of the push maps are pretty good for Wrecking Ball to play on.
all of them you can play Wrecking Ball on. The only one I think is a little bit of a haphazard one is Colosseo, just because of how the map is designed out in the later half. But if Bugbears are smart, they could notice that if they're a match point, and Naya has to play at some point, so he has to come in on this map. No doubt in my mind. So if Bugbears plays correctly, they could just try to maybe ban out one of Naya's heroes that he might play, win the map, and then they have the map, and then they have the first ban available to them on Flashpoint to get rid of Kiddo's ball.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Is that right now, if Flying Bugbears win this push map, they're going to be going into kind of back-to-back map picks from the side of those who crow. So that's something also for them to keep in mind. If they want to do the reverse sweep, it is going to be back-to-back map picks. So they got to think real hard about what's going to happen here on push. If they're going to decide to maybe go for a target onto one of Niatus's heroes, or maybe they want to go for another support ban. That has been a bit of a pattern for them here, but I think that banning the Mizuki, banning the Lucio, they're going to be running out of impactful supports that are not also going to shoot themselves in the foot.
They could ban the Ana.
That's true. It's true. Yeah.
But they are trying to figure out what they're deciding to play. As of course, everybody knows the push maps that are available, because there hasn't been. The last push map, I believe, introduced into this game was Runasapi back when Yari came out.
Yep. We need another push map, Blizzard. Please give us another push map. I gotta say, I mean, I do like all of the push maps that are on the board. Like, there aren't any push maps where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't stand this. You know, New Queen Street is pretty low on my tier list, but like, it doesn't compare to some of the other maps that I don't like.
What do you mean New Queen Street's still on your tier? You live in Canada.
I know.
That doesn't make sense.
I know. Shame to all of the Canadians here, but I just can't. It's the least favorite of them.
As
all
right. I believe Bugbears deferred the map pick to Crow and took first ban here because person said Crow has picked Runasapi.
Okay, yeah, I like it. I think that's pretty smart. So Bugbear getting to go for that first ban, and maybe that is going to mean that we see the Wrecking Ball ban come out, or maybe they're playing that 3D chess. Maybe they know that Naiatus is going to be coming in for this map, and they're thinking ahead to that sub. So we'll see what they have on the board. They're definitely cooking though, because if they defer the map pick, like, they are going into this with a plan.
They have to go into this with a plan, and they are banning the Wrecking Ball. I mean, yeah, there comes to a point where you're gonna have to do this, but you also, I don't think they realize. Well, they should realize, because Naiatus is in the lobby, I believe. If he's not in the lobby, then I think he's just in their VC, because I'm just basing it off of the fact that he's in their VC, so I'm guessing he's there. So now you just summon Naiatus, and maybe if you lose this map as Crow, you're like, okay, well, it didn't really matter in the end, because then you gain access back to Wrecking Ball on Flashpoint, where if your Bugbear is on Flashpoint, it's gonna be a tough one going into that one, just because Gozu Crow could potentially just pick Surabasa and and that's one of the best Flashpoint maps for Wrecking Ball of the 3 Flashpoint maps we have. But Runasapi, ball banned. Now you probably have Naiatus coming in. Naiatus has a completely different hero pool than Kiddo has. This. Yes, Naiatus is in. He likes to play Zarya, Winston, more of the Sigma stuff. As those who Crow, we didn't get to see the ban from them, and unfortunately during the ban phase, but they have banned out the Juno from Flying Bugbear. So Jolda already showing the Ana, Gosh on the Brigida.
Okay, I mean, look, Gosh is going to be flexing here onto that main support. A little bit surprised to see that happening on Runasapi when they've banned the Wrecking Ball. You know, a lot of the times you're seeing that break as a counter to the Wrecking Ball here. But yep, they are going to be running with it.
What in the world are those who Crow running?
Those who Crow are all in on the major perk that comes in from that Mauga, where you're going to be able to burn people that charge through, and January on that on-run going to be able to capitalize on that burn damage. Now the Zenyatta, I have no explanation.
I was more looking at the backline than anything else. Like the on-run that Mauga is like, okay, that kind of makes sense with the burn. But the Cat Zen backline means you're kind of asking Naiatus to be on a little bit of a okay, it's fine, I'm okay. But Nifty immediately finds out Impulse first, but Tally will stay back up in January, and 3 bolts in a row will land onto Fainter to drop that cat right out of the sky.
Well, fantastic shots from Alfredo here, and we've been seeing more and more of the Freya. So much damage can be put out from this hero, and against Naiadis on this Melga, a very large target. Look, if Alfredo can shoot the cat out of the sky, he's definitely going to be able to get some shots onto Naiadis, and we're going to see a pretty immediate swap here. Fainter is going to move actually over onto the Wuyong, so a little bit more healing for Naiadis, but that Melga is still going to have to be very, very careful in these fights.
Yeah, and he's just been sitting in a critic tree this entire time. His health bar has not gone up at all. And here comes the engage from Tally with the Christian forward. Fortified will be forced down. Nate as well from Golda has to be forced onto their tank. And now Impulse in the backline looking to try to get out, trying to get rid of Zenyatta, but a pretty good fuel so far from those who try to keep Zenyatta alive. But meanwhile, Naiadis trying to hold down the bot, will be forced to run out of there. Tally thinking about going forward, but looks better to just take the big forward fortify out from the Sarissa. Fainter will find Gosh in the meantime off camera. Here comes another out onto the Sarissa as Naiadis, well, Naiadis somehow still alive, and Naiadis shaking Fainter find a couple kills in the meantime, and Tally's just the only one left alive at the point.
All right, I mean, team kill here for those who crow. Really looked like Naiadis was going to fall throughout the entirety of that fight, but manages to stay alive. Gets the nano out from Jolda as well, and now those who crow gonna get a little bit of movement on this barricade. They just got that Deadeye online, the Transcendence from Nifty B going to be ready for this next fight as well. I think that Transcendence especially is going to be very important with Tally having this Terra Surge and Alfredo with that pull-up. Potential combo here for Bugbears.
Yeah, and there comes a Terra Surge out from Tally, doesn't find anything, but does force the Transcendence out from Nifty B. Now, bonus shot from Alfredo will find Fainter and will chain that kill into a kill on the Nippy for the back from those who crow gone. K-Train somehow did come out during that chaos from Naiadis at some point, but so did that Vermilion Ascent from January. January will find Tally, will find God, and now Naiadis is playing Ring Around the Rosie with his Ana. Eventually we'll find the stop, but those who crow are letting are letting Impulse kidnap the bot right now. Impulse does get it all the way back to those who crow side of the map before just taking his leave.
Hey, this is good space here for Flying Bugbears. With Jolda on this Ana, you need a lot of time to get reset, to get ready for these fights here. So every little meter matters here. Those who crow gonna walk back this bot. They do have that Deadeye still ready to go. Fainter with the Tidal Blast coming online as well. Expect that to either go onto Naiadis just to try and keep him alive, or onto January potentially, the highest mobility hero on the side of those who crow.
Yeah, it's Nifty a little bit, trying to take a little bit of angle from Alfred the Wolf, but he will be found out by Alfred, and Alfred's been so far pretty good trying out his Freya. Gabriel will end up training them out in the end as Tidal Blast out onto Naiadis. Gosh will go down, Deadeye will find Impulse, and Joel the left to their own device behind the car. Tally's the only one left alive on the point, and that should be the lead taken by those who crow.
Yep, they are going to get across that golden line. Even going to get close to that checkpoint. Is everybody from Flying Bugbear still back in the spawn? It will be the checkpoint being capped out. Forward spawns in effect now for those who crow. The pulse bomb stick. Hey, at least you are going to be up in numbers here for this next fight for Flying Bugbears. Hopefully that means they don't need to commit either of these ults.
Yeah, January though finds Impulse out again. Impulse is going to find the first take of die. And now Naiadis trying to go into the backline, but taking a bunch of damage from this Freya of Alfredo. Alfredo gets a little bit of a jump scare to the face as Nifty was in that side room. Doesn't realize that Fainter will find Alfredo in the end. Gosh, something went to the yacht at some point. Jolda will find out Nifty, and now Tally trying to get this Kathy and Banashik out. Fainter will find Jolda again, and now January and Fainter are just behind the entirety of Bugbears. I mean, who would you expect to be behind them besides the brother-sister duo of Ana and Moonray?
This is a lore accurate sibling rivalry here for those who crow. January is going to fall, and they just keep flying Bugbears.
Oh no.
Control here, looking for that environmental Naiadis. They're somehow going to manage to get back on the map, but back into their death. As Bugbears win the fight here, they are going to start walking this spot back. Now, I like the swap of Gosh over onto the Zenyatta, of course. Bugbears are really looking to try and burn down Naiadis, where they only have the Wuyong and the Zen for the heals here, but Bugbears just have not been able to get an aggressive anti-nade to come out from Jolda. She constantly has to use it to try and heal herself. Oh, January is always in the package.
Yeah, and there comes the cage fight in the Vermilion Ascent combo, and now Terrace is out from Tally, but it doesn't find anything at all as those who still manage to find another fight. They will lose Naitis at the very back half of the fight, so not having their tank. Impulse trying to get out of this one alive at 20 HP. Will manage to maybe get out. January is in pursuit. Banashek will find Alfred in the meantime off camera, and now you have to wait for Alfred to come back. His Impulse looking for a little bit of a pulse bomb. Doesn't find it. Banashek will just shut down Impulse as he throws the pulse bomb on the ground.
Oh, fantastic stuff here. Those who throw active those forward spawns. Okay, there's an aggressive anti-nade to come out. Jolda is going to find the trade here, but losing the Zenyatta, not great, and losing Alfredo, even worse here. Those who are just going to keep marching the spot forward.
Yeah, Impulse over to the Sojourn and immediately finds out Nifty. And now Naitis only has his reading of Fainter to try to keep him alive. Overrun will be forced out to try to get out of dodge, but those who Crow are doing a pretty good job at just bursting down the entirety of Flying Bugbears before they can respawn. As Elfananishik will die to Impulse in the meantime. And now, Flying Bugbears, you have some momentum. Bonus shot will force out the Transcendence, and Tidal Blast also from Fainter did come out during that chaos. As Transcendence out from Gosh as well. Nikki B just floating in the side room. Impulse doesn't see him at all. Naius will find Jolda. Tally won't trade out Naius in the end. Fainter finds Gosh, and now it's just Tally all alone. Alfred will run out of the magic, and Tally is just staggering himself while they won't get to the Mega Pack. And I mean, he might be able to take January with him as he does, knocking that Auron off the map, but it's all in vain as Bugbears didn't even get the bot back to their barricade.
No, that's right. So they did manage to get the forward spawns away from those who grow, but January is going to end up with it, or actually going to end up with a long spawn, but has that mobility to get back into things pretty quickly here. We've seen those who grow, get some really good disengages as well, but that's a good guy.
So that finds Bolt, but that's just a sleep dart you can't afford to miss in your Jolda. As Alfred finds out Banashik and Nifty will find out Alfred, and once again, Naitis will find Impulse in the very end. Now, if we're getting into dangerous territory for Flying Bugbears, as those who Crow have surpassed the 100-meter mark and they're still climbing.
Still walking forward. They still have the Phoenix ready to go here for January. Naitis is going to have that Key Strike ready to go as well. Bugbears, they need to use one of these ults in this fight. They're constantly using them in response to those who throw them. They need to win out one of these fights.
Yeah, there's the cage fight plus the Vermilion Ascent from January immediately will kill Alfred on impact Banashik. And Fainter will find 2 picks of their own. Tally, Rustaloni, one device is trying to find out later the backline. We'll find out Fainter, but January manages to trade back, and now Nifty B just sitting on the point, and now it's just a desperation trying to get back to the point. Here comes the Transcendence out from Nifty B. Alfred will manage to touch, and actually ends up finding January with a nice anti-grenade plays from Jolda. But Banashik will find out Gosh in the meantime. Impulse will find Nifty B, and Banashik is the only one left on this point trying to hold it down. Naitis has returned onto the point. We'll get emptied out though. Jolda will find out Naitis, and Bugbears with the final gas match to take control of the bot once again.
Alright, Tally is over onto the hazard off of that Orisa. We'll see what that's going to be able to get done here, as it's going to have to be an overtime push here. Flying Bugbears want to pick up this map, force us to a map number 4. Impulse is over on the Sojourn here as well. I like this when you're up against the Mauga. It's going to give a lot of that railgun charge more or less for free, but where you're up against an Onron and a Tracer, it's hard to learn and get those railgun shots value.
Yeah, but Transcendence out from Gosh, and a nice anti-nade will allow Impulse to kill out Naitis, and Tally in the meantime managed to find January as well, but 10 seconds remaining on the clock for Bugbears to try to make this massive comeback. But if you've been watching OW Esports in the past couple of months or weeks, there's been crazier things that have happened on this map.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. You know, anything can happen here on Runasabi.
Tally, you can't die!
No, that is not the place where your hazard needs to be.
As that mistake from Tally will probably end up costing those who Flying Bugbears as those who Crow with a pretty dominant 3-0 will close up the series, and Flying Bugbears go out with more of a whimper than anything else.
Yeah, a really strong showing here from those who Crow, showing that, the Wrecking Ball composition, definitely very scary, but subbing in Naiatus, playing some Mauga, still getting a lot of value here. And, I love to see the Wuyong play the game. I feel like I was hyping up Fainter a little bit throughout this series, so nice to see the Wuyong really just having a day in the spotlight.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Flying Bugbears, the road will end here for them, but those who Crow will move forward to take on Hidden King later. Sometime I believe this week at some point, as they do have to play. But the Flying Bugbears, they started to get some sort of a grasp on what they want to do, and then those who Crow just turned on the tempo, not allowing Flying Bugbears to do anything at all. The best flash of brilliance from Flying Bugbears was from Alfredo with the Hero 5K to try to allow them to get through King's Row 3rd.
Yeah, honestly, unfortunately for Bugbears, if this had been maybe a bit of a longer series, maybe they would have been able to figure something out here. But best of 5, first to 3 here, they're not going to be able to pick up the win. And unfortunately, that will end the season here for Flying Bugbears. But I hope that they had a good time playing here in BPL Season 8.
Yeah, and it's kind of just because they are my sister team to Orga play, and so a little bit sad to see Flying Bugbears bow out, as we were hoping that they'd make it through as well, because Echo Knights did manage to take the win against Noble Steed yesterday to punch their ticket into playoffs. Flying Bugbears, unfortunately, I think availability issues and everything just kind of got the best of them throughout the season, as they really weren't able to be a full team at all. But moving on to we always do the MVP of the match, and this one, we're probably going to get a lot of people saying it should have been Kiddo, but we've given it to Fainter.
Hey, I think that to have a couple of support bands come out, maybe they were protect bands here for Flying Bugbears, but I think you're doing a fantastic job on the Wuyong of all heroes that I don't think we necessarily get to see enough of. Opening fights up, using the Tidal Blast to keep the Mauga alive in the last fight, or in the last map. I don't think that Mauga really had any right to be living when you have a backline of the Wuyong, of the Zenyatta, but really did a fantastic job throughout this series supporting those who Crow to the victory.
Yeah, and now with those who Crow, you have the monumental task of taking out Hidden King up in the next match.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be a tough one for them now going forward, as Hidden King have dropped one map all season.
Yeah, and keeping in mind as well that those who Crow and Hidden King both coming from the Bard division here of B League. So those who Crow have come up against Hidden King once already. It was a 2-0, of course, in the favor of Hidden King. So it's going to have to be a pretty big comeback here for those who Crow to find a victory against that #1 seed. But the good news is that now that they are into the playoffs, it is going to be a double elimination bracket. So if they do end up falling to Hidden King, they will have that second life in that lower bracket.
Yeah, but taking a look at today's schedule, I think we have a couple other games being streamed. We do have later today. We do have Odin versus Echo Knights. Off stream, we've had Flying Blåhajar versus Nightwings taking place at the same time, and also taking place at the same time with Odin versus Echo Knights will be Phantom Verdict versus Siren Songs, the other play-ins match for A League, and Zerial versus Amatori of upper round 1, and then Mango Nectar will be awaiting the winner of Flying Blåhajar and Nightwings for a game later tonight. And then, of course, at the 9 p.m. mark, actually in 1 hour, you have Elvish Selknife versus Pachimari in upper round 1.
A whole lot of Overwatch happening tonight. This was just the first match of the stream, so there are going to be a few other matches later on tonight, so make sure that you are tuned in to the Twitch stream, join the Discord if you're not in here already, so that you can get notified whenever we go live.
Yeah, but that will do it for us for now, as I believe the next match will be taking place shortly, but for all of us, for Rain, myself, and of course our producer person and our observer Solomon, June, Orange, and I don't really want to say that. I don't want. The other person's
Migu.
name in the other VC is me.
No,
Okay,
it's
Migu.
Migu.
Because the other name I was looking at, I was like, I don't think I can say that on stream and be okay. But they do all the work behind the scenes. We just sit here and talk about Overwatch. They do all the hard work.
So true. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Stay tuned for the next match, and we'll see you then. All right, well, welcome back. A short break for everybody. We are going to jump into the other play-ins match that is happening. We mentioned it just before we cut to a break that this was happening at the same time. So this is the B League second play-in match. I'll be covering the action, and I'm joined here by Tekujen. Hello.
Yeah, nice job on the last cast. Yeah, we're going to be hopping right into this one because directly following this game, we are going to be going to the winner of that game's first playoffs match. This is just to see if they qualify for playoffs.
That's right. So, flying Blåhajar on the side. It's Rainy Mood, Nameless, Bubba Wyatt, C Sharp, RMM, Fairy, and Coolant here. So a couple of familiar names here if you've been around BPL for a little while.
Yep, plenty of well-known names here. And I mean, even looking at Nightwing, we've got quite a few recognizable names as well. The DPS line, I mean, is stacked here with Tannic B, Chimoran, and Tilted Waffle. We have some new individuals as well. I believe Not Ken, this is their first time playing. But it's been a interesting season for both of these teams. Obviously not getting the regular season that I think either of them hope for, but this is their final chance to get into playoffs and at least guarantee a chance to get into that double Elam bracket.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what they're hoping for. Now, similarly to the last match, they are going to be up against a very tough opponent for whichever of these teams does make it into things. We are jumping into this mid-match, of course. So far, Nightwings starting out 2-0 here. That means that Flying Blåhajar are going to have one last map pick to try and start a reverse sweep. It is going to be Push, and it is going to be another Runasapi map on the stream.
Yeah, I'm a Runasapi truther. I love this map. I really think that it opens up a lot of different possibilities compositionally. I know that we see a lot of rush and dive here, but you can even get away with the poke for how long some of these sightlines are. So obviously, Nightwings have gone up 2-0 on what I would say are more brawl-centric maps, maybe Flying Blåhajar, or how do you say it? Blåhajar? I can never remember how you pronounce it.
I'm saying Blåhajar, but you know what? I'm not Swedish. I definitely do not take my word for it.
Yeah, I mess up the pronunciation every time. I'll be looking at that at some point, but we are going to be seeing a Tracer and a Cat ban, so I can only assume that maybe some Cat bashing or Cat cast was being played earlier in the match. It seems like that has been proliferating through the playoffs, at least for the matches that we have prodded so far. So probably taking that off of the board, and then the Tracer makes me think that someone on Nightwings has been breaking up the backline quite a bit.
I'm thinking that as well. I am a little bit surprised to see the flying team going for 3 DPS bans. I feel like that is like a little bit tough to really kind of control what compositions you're going to be going up against. And it's also really hard to kind of go for any of these kind of counter picks. So usually I do agree that if we see a DPS ban come out, it's because somebody on Nightwings has been bullying them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's the tank bans and support bans are definitely more compositional bans, I feel. DPS, there's so many in the roster that you can usually substitute with something else. But oftentimes when we do see these DPS bans, it is specifically for, like, a player who's been popping off. So it looks like they were targeting a flex support before. Now maybe they're going for the hit scam player. As we head into Runasapi here, I really think that if we're talking about reverse sweeps, they're possible. I mean, if you guys were living under a rock last night, Echo Knights versus Noble Steed was a 6-map gigabanger. Now, the reverse sweep did not end up happening, but they did bring it all the way to a map 6. So this team is not done by any means. Definitely still plenty of opportunities to bring this back and lock their self into playoffs. And as we look at these comps here, surely Chim isn't playing Widow. Like, that's gotta, like, bro's being silly right now.
I think we get Chim on Widow, and I think we definitely get Coolant on Mercy. These just look really good to me, I think. But the doors are going to be opening shortly here, so these comps are going to be locked in soon, at least for kind of the first map here. And yeah, it is going to be a swap over onto the May, and it is going to be a pause as soon as those doors open.
I love the immediate pause, but hey, better than it happening mid-team fight. You know, something that I've been seeing quite a bit of in recent games has been the proliferation of Freya again. She got some quality of life buffs that I feel like have pushed her back into being at least usable at a higher level of play, at least in coordinated play. So we've kind of seen her start to come back, which to some people I'm sure is terrifying. we can only remember how the Freya meta was at certain times with the double bolt insta kill. But honestly, like, it provides that long-range damage burst that players who aren't usually typically a Sojourn player are able to then flex over to and then provide that long-range damage for.
And I think that's going to be really important because, like you mentioned here on Runasapi, we see a lot of dive, we see a lot of rush, but those long sight lines really can kind of play into these poke compositions. And if you've already banned out the Tracer, that is going to give a little bit more power, I think, to the Freya player, who doesn't necessarily have to be worried about kind of taking those one-on-one duels against a Flex DPS that's kind of over in the corner.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing that I find interesting is that they're pairing that Freya with a Reaper, by the looks of it. So a bit of push and pull, if you will, where we have the long-range poke damage and then potentially a Reaper to clean up on some of that initial damage. I'm interested to see how the DPS play around one another, if it is like a follow-up thing or if it's more of like a pressure from multiple angles. I know that some teams have proliferated as far as like that style of play, not playing as a death ball, which I think is kind of a BPL staple, is just ooga booga run as 5 into the enemy team. We have started to see some teams go back to that more almost like wrecking ball style of split play. With a Sigma though, I can't help but feel like it's going to be more of like a centralized comp. Oh, we got another pause. Incredible. 2 for 2. Can we go for 3?
Seems like there's a request in the match chat to maybe get a restart on the map, so we might be having that come into effect here. But yeah, interesting to see that those DPS paired with that Sigma. It does seem like maybe a little bit of chaos kind of happening in the hero composition here, but whether they're playing up into, they don't know it yet, but they're playing into a Zarya and a Mei, I believe. Having kind of multiple angles to kind of hold and shoot from is going to make it very, very hard for Notken on that Zarya to kind of try and focus one of these targets down and not just have all the bubbles burn out immediately.
Yeah, I mean, the Zarya into Sigma is interesting. By all accounts, Zarya should be the better matchup there if you have the speed to just get on the Sigma. There's not much he can do once the shield is broken and he is, like, being run down. His kinetic grasp is not able to stop the beam. So if they're running a Mei, that's a second beam as well that it is not going to be able to stop by that sort of pressure. The problem is, with Runasapi, with these longer alleyways, they're going to need to kind of play hopscotch almost in a way from cover to cover in order to cover that distance. They don't have your typical speed. Like, they don't have a Lucio. They don't have a Juno. They do potentially have that Mizuki perk that allows for a slight speed boost during Katashiro return. But obviously that's a perk. You don't have that right away. I mean, look how slow they are coming out of spawn, by the way. Look at them plodding along.
Both of these teams just creeping towards the middle of the point. It is going to be a duel towards this mega health pack, and it's going to be that Kiriko Mizuki backline for both of these teams. And Nightwings, where they're in this position, trying to force the fight over on the edge, this does give them an opportunity to find a Mei wall.
And hey, I mean, that Nameless already finding Cobalt, getting one of the supports out, that's very good. And the Freya, I think, is going to be a pretty big win condition here. Already taking control of that bot. And ooh, a nice little accretion here. I mean, yeah, that pressure is just going to be so good. Potentially a second, yes, already. This is going to be a really good opportunity to start with quite a bit of time pushed.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, moving forward on this barrier, and not built up to any ult just yet, but where you do have Nameless still on that Freya, you're going to be able to build up to that bola shot pretty quickly here. Nightwings not making any changes to their composition here. They do have Tilted Waffle set up on this angle, getting some nice shots in, a little early damage for Nightwings.
I mean, yeah, Rainy Mood a bit telegraphed on that teleport there. Unfortunately, the flash headshot comes out immediately, and with that, although it was a very good push, almost getting that initial checkpoint, they are going to be heading back in the other direction with a clean trade of 5 for nothing.
All right, yeah, nice way for Nightwings to swing themselves back into this map. That forward spawn not quite picked up by Flying Blåhajar, so this is going to be a good opportunity to get some progress on this point. And Flying Blåhajar is still going to be trying to build up to that bola shot from Nameless. And if Rainy Mood can maybe get a little bit more sneaky with the Reaper here to survive a little bit longer in these fights, really want that consistent damage to way through the mid-fight.
As this push starts to initialize, already Starry Night super low on the side of Nightwings, and it's going to be Nameless somehow. Nameless is going to be found. A bit of a flank there, getting immediately stopped by a very good peel from the backline. Now the Flux is going to be used. They're trying to stabilize this. They're going to get two, but with the Maywall and the Zarya likely having a bubble for themselves. No! Rainy Moon is actually able to follow up on the Zarya. That's a massive pick, and suddenly a fight that seemed like it was dead to rights for Flying Blåhajar is now immediately going back in their favor. A very clutch Flux is able to turn that back in their direction.
Oh, nice secretion there as well. The Maywall from Chimera not quite going to block that rocks from coming through, and it is going to be a late or early pick here, depending on how you look at it. As Flying Blåhajar go forward, get that forward spawn picked up, and once again, it's still these staggered kills going on to Nightwings.
Okay, it is apparently Blåhajar.
See, I looked this up too, and I was like, really? That doesn't seem right, but hey, again, not Swedish, don't know.
Well, speaking of Blåhajar, Bugbears is on the high ground as they are attempting to get this past the checkpoint. The checkpoint has been reached, so that first point is going to be theirs. Obviously, it can swing back in the other direction. Bola is going to come out in response, and ooh, a nice rock to stop that High Noon. However, oh my god, alright, it's going to be a 5-0 fight by the looks of it. Everyone is hitting Q. Not Kadashiro. The Sanctuary, the grab, everything being thrown in. Let's throw in the kitchen sink as well while we're at it. It is going to be Nightwings coming out on top here, but I don't know if you've noticed this. Bugbears has already built up to another Flux. That was like a minute and a half ago.
That is incredible damage coming out from the Stigma. Great cycling of the cooldowns to always be kind of staying in these fights, and that's what's really kind of working out for Flying Blåhajar, is that they're doing a great job keeping this tank alive into these fights. You cycle through the cooldowns, you build up your own.
Wait, this is a really good aggressive push here. They're going to try and make a bit of space here, even though they don't have the ults. The Flux is going to be used. Rainy Mood, though, is going to be found, and I can't help but notice that this fight is taking quite a distance away from the push bot, and as these picks keep going in the favor of Nightwings, I'm afraid they might have to give up the initial tick here. Obviously they still have the lead, but they can't hold that forward corner. They do have the poke, but right now it's 4-2 right now. I don't think they can stop that initial touch.
No, and especially when, Tilted Waffle is not going to get into this fight quickly. Going to have quite the walk back from the spawn here on that Cassidy. So, forward spawn gains here, and unfortunately now nobody on Nightwing doesn't have any.
Nameless continuing to find these very nice little shots from afar, hitting those sticky shots. And now as this turns back in the direction of Flying Blåhajar, little Zarya jump there, little jumping action. It is going to go back in the favor of Flying Blåhajar, but Nightwing, because they get that past the checkpoint, they got a nice rock. Man, some of these rocks from Bugbears have been killer, and already 50%. Like, I'm cutting myself off here on thoughts, but Bugbears right now is honestly kind of dominating on the Sigma.
Yeah, and I think this is definitely showing why we've been seeing more and more Sig being played here, even though not Ken on that Zarya Lightning Vengeance on paper should be able to counter out this Sigma. It's just been such great movement and positioning from Bugbears as Flying Blåhajar going to continue this aggression forward.
Oh, that's a massive grab. High Noon, I believe, came out there as well. Unfortunately, no picks gotten from it. Not Ken is going to get 3 beaming people down right now. They will fall at this point. And as the wall comes out, it does look like Rainy Mood. Wait, hold on. Rainy Mood picks up a couple. Not Ken's hard work, and I mean another rock. It's got to be a rock from Bugbears at this point to finish the fight. Things were looking really good there for Nightwings, but Flying Blåhajar, right now they're continuing to get a couple meters in.
Yeah, Rainy Mood is going to stick around just long enough to get Nightwings to commit some cooldowns into things. Still lurking around, though. Has this Death Blossom ready to go, and, well, there's the Flux. The Bugbears going to try one with it.
Nameless is going to find, actually, the trade on the Tilted Waffle, who's also swapped over to the Freya, taking a bit of inspiration there, trying to get some of that long-range damage. But honestly, the thing about this comp that Nightwings is trying to run is that the space that they need to take with their Maywall and with their Zarya bubble is leaving them not with, honestly, a lot for, like, the mid-fight. I feel like their mid-fights are, honestly, kind of barren right now, and right now the cooldown usage from Flying Blåhajar is just better.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Ooh, it is going to be the kick. I think we're not going to get eaten by that blizzard. I don't know how Kymora got that blizzard off.
making sure to look at the ground there and ensure that it didn't get swooped up by the Kekai Sanctuary. The picks are still going in the favor of Nightwings, but Bubba Wyatt, once again, still a threat, a menace on the Sigma, finding 2. I mean, you don't want to see that, and they still have heals here. It's a 3v2, and when Bubba Wyatt is alive, the fight is not over. Chimorin is back on the Reaper, said, hey, the May's not working, let's go to something that's a little bit more movement. Tilted Waffle actually also swapping over to the Emray, not wanting to take that mirror after 1 or 2 fights. And, I mean, man, this fight is just dragging on. Like, Bubba Wyatt is not giving any space.
And of course, that's going to really favor Flying Blåhajar here because they're in control of this spot. They have the forward spawns to work with here. They are happy for a fight to drag out here. If they could get something to commit in from Nightwings, that would be even a bigger Sorry Night. She has a Kitsune Rush online, and she has to commit it because there's all this space in the hands of Flying Blåhajar.
I believe that's a Flux coming out with that Kitsune. A Bubble is going to save someone. Bubba Wyatt finally being taken out. The raid boss, the legend, getting taken down by Tilted Waffle on the Emray. And finally, I think we're going to see some push here coming up from Nightwings. The issue is, thankfully, hey, you've got the checkpoint. The problem is you have, I'd say, probably 2 fights, if you, like 2 clean fights if you want to take the lead. There's 2 minutes left. They do have the grab. They do have the Kekai Sanctuary. But as these DPS ults for Flying Blåhajar linger in the distance, they're gonna want to take a fast fight here, I feel.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe the grab. I mean, you don't want to get too fast, right? Because Bubba Wyatt could potentially eat that up. It's gonna be that Kekai Sanctuary in response.
Oh no. I mean, hey, that's exactly what they needed. And they used the Kitsune Rush as well. Oh, that's so bad. Unfortunately, Flying Blåhajar used the only ult that they had there instead of trying to hold it. I understand that they don't want to give him too much room. Oh no. Not Ken falling is not what you want.
No, you need that Zarya to be alive in these mid-fights. Like you mentioned, Nightwings have kind of been struggling with these mid-fights to try and find the value. And a charged up Zarya is really where you want to put a lot of that value. Now, Nightwings do have Primer and Over on this Reaper off of that May. Gonna have that Blossom online ready to go, but not in the fight right now. So Nightwings are just trying to get as much percentage here on this spot as they can as they wait for the reinforcements to arrive.
Yeah, not Ken finally back here. A little low energy, obviously, just getting back to the fight. No bubbles having been used yet. Aimless on this high ground. A danger that needs to be respected. Tilted Waffle is going to try and mark it. And actually, no, the Reaper. Look at this amazing pressure that the DPS of Nightwings are putting onto Nameless. And they get the pick. They get the pick. That is going to be massive for them. That long-range damage, no longer an aspect. Chim just able to dodge that rock here. It does have the Death Blossom, and with a bubble, this might be devastating. They might want to go while the rock is out of play here. I mean, you don't want to get CC'd as you're trying to spin to win, but damage. Oh, another rock. Tilted Waffle is going to be found here. This is starting to devolve, and with 15 seconds left, I don't know if they've recognized how little time they have left inside the Kekai Sanctuary. That healing is going to mitigate any hopes, and I think we might be looking at a map 4 here, Rain.
Yep, a little Blossom in celebration here from Rainy Mood. Nobody from Nightwings gonna be able to trigger more overtime. And alright, Flying Blåhajar, they are trying to put together a reverse sweep here, winning out on Runasapi.
Yep, a very good first match won here in order to start that reverse sweep. Notken does get the play of the game. There were some big beams going on there from the Zari play, but I can't help but feel like the Sigma of Bubba Wyatt was like a total game changer here. Just the amount of accretions hit, as well as the inability to kind of dislodge Bubba Wyatt on some of those corners, really made it hard for Nightwings to make any progress there.
Yeah, I agree, and because Bubba Wyatt was such a good presence for the side of Flying Blåhajar on those corners, that really opened things up for Nameless on that Freya to kind of find themselves on the angle and put pressure onto Nightwings. And we kind of mentioned it as we were heading into Runasapi, is that Zarya is going to have a hard time when there's damage coming from all of these angles, and I think that Flying Blåhajar really did a good job kind of playing into that Zarya composition.
Yeah, and I mean, as we look to map 4, I believe, remind me, is it Escort next or Flashpoint?
Okay, Flashpoint. Thank you, Prod,
Okay.
because I was going to just take a shot. I was like, I got 50-50, like, whatever, just say it with confidence and it'll be fine. But Flashpoint here is going to be an interesting one because, yeah, I feel like both of these teams, the comps that we've at least got to see on the screen so far, I feel like you could run both of these and be successful on Flashpoint.
Yeah, I mean, Flashpoint off kind of similarly, because the different points have different kind of setups, you can kind of play different comps for each of them, but you obviously want to have kind of a synonymous comp for the entire map because you want to be able to build those perks up, get an ult bank going, and kind of snowball the opposition. As we look towards this, there's only 3 Flashpoint maps to pick from. I would say that they do have slightly different play styles. I think that Suravasa usually tends to go more brawly. New Junk City, I think that is a little more pokey. In Atlas, I honestly wonder if Nightwings go Atlas here, just based on how they've been wanting to play the Zarya. I think Zarya can be really dangerous on some of those really corner heavy points in Atlas. Just the amount of cover that they would have, I think, would potentially allow them to just get to the Sigma a bit quicker if they decide to stick with that comp.
Yeah, I'm thinking the exact same thing. I think that Atlas is one of those lesser favored Flashpoint maps. Of course, being the newest one, maybe people aren't quite as familiar with it as Suravasa and New Junk City, although they've had plenty of time to get familiar with it. However, I'm looking at kind of the record here. I mean, it's pretty hard to not want to just gravitate towards Suravasa.
Yeah, I almost feel like Suravasa is like the Lijiang Tower of Flashpoint. Kind of how Lijiang Tower and King's Row are kind of considered like the default picks for their respective game types. I feel like Flashpoint, yep, there it is. And with a 3-1 record, I feel like that makes sense. Obviously, they've had success on this map. There's probably some comfort in how they've played. And because of that, I'm going to assume they're probably going to try and return to basics, return to kind of the comps that they were playing initially on those first 2 maps, which, once again, are more rush-centric. So I'm interested to see if the Sigma, if they do keep that, how that kind of tries to survive against that rush.
Yeah, right. Especially where, the Zarya on paper does, have a little bit of an advantage here. And Suravasa, although not quite as many corners as an Atlas would have, you can definitely still run it here. There are some of those points that have a bit of a longer sight line where the Sigma may be going to have a little bit of a better time. I do think that, thinking back to the bans that were in for the last map, not having that Tracer ban in the pocket here for Flying Blowhigh could be a little dangerous for them.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, because once again, we're joining map 3 here. We don't know what's transpired in map 1 and 2. For all we know, the Tracer was potentially a really big problem, and having the Tracer banned allowed them to run the more like static backline with the Sigma, not having to turn and deal with that as much. I'm interested to see what the first ban is here. Based on the past picks here, it seems that Nightwing is trying to protect some support choices potentially. And obviously we already highlighted how the DPS bans from Flying Blowhigh have been just back to back to back. I'd honestly like to see them ban a tank potentially, unless for all we know, not Ken is like Flex God on tank. I feel like as the DPS bans lessen, the amount of impact they have on the game lessens as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. I would love to see Flying Blowhigh come out with a tank ban. Yeah, and, maybe ban the Zarya here. Maybe force not Ken onto something a little bit different. I mean, we did have Nightwing spanning out Reinhardt in map number 1 as well, so I'm wondering if that maybe could have been like a protect ban onto the tank as well. But again, just speculating here. We'll have to wait and see if it's going to be another support ban to come through from Nightwings or another DPS ban from Flying Blowhigh. Sorry, I am literally just reading the letters.
No, it's all good. As you said, we are native English speakers. We are not multilingual here, unfortunately. But hey, we're trying to learn the lingo as we go. Something that I am interested about is we talked about the lack of speed from both teams, aside from the Mizuki perk potentially. With Flashpoint, speed is a very important aspect. Being able to taxi to points to sometimes ensure that you get an extra fight on the point, or even just traversing the map from one point to the next, is very important. And it looks like that tank ban is finally going to occur. Even though the Zarya was handled, they are going to try and put Not Ken onto the back foot and get them a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, shake things up here. I think that's a really good idea. You really want to try and build on this momentum that you have on Runasapi, so I think that trying to deal with that tank is a good way to do it. Nightwings, though, gonna hit back with a DPS ban of their own for the first time in this series. Taking the Reaper out of the mix here is gonna be a lot of that burst damage off of the table.
Yep, Rainy Mood did very well on that Reaper. Obviously, we were calling out Nameless's not Bolas, but crossbow shots as they came out to get initial picks, but Rainy Mood was doing a great job of pressuring the backline as well, and just making sure that the additionally breaking bubbles on Zarya was a very big thing. So even though the Zarya is banned, getting rid of the Reaper does kind of reestablish some stability on the backline.
Yeah, so I will be interested to see what we end up with here for the DPS for both of these teams. Don't anticipate that we're maybe going to see the Freya here on Saravasa. You don't have as long of kind of sight lines to work with here. Usually, if we're going to play something like that, we'll see maybe a Sojourn come into play here. The Tracer, of course, going to be on the board for both of these teams as well. And I agree, you kind of mentioned about the speed component of the backline. I think that that could play a really big difference here for both of these teams if they have a Lucio to work with, maybe a Juno that they could play, because yeah, being able to navigate these really big flashpoint maps is a really key component to being able to control the space.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of speed and tempo, trying to keep kind of that momentum that you have as Flying Blowhigh going into map 4, trying to start and maintain that reverse sweep. It's very important once those unbanned heroes come back into the fray to like make sure that even though their absence allowed you to win the first map, you still need to have figured out in that interim before map 4 how to answer for the shortcomings that you had previously.
Yeah, that's so true. So yeah, they're gonna be aware of this Tracer back in May, of course, going to be available as well. Could be pretty impactful here on Saravasa. If Nightwing has a strong May player, potentially sub them in here. Of course, going to work like one of those control maps where you have a specific point to kind of fight around, and if you have that Blizzard online, it can be detrimental. I think throwing back to how this plays similar to a control point, I mean, you can see Nightwings picking up Lijiang Tower. I think that they are very comfortable here on Saravasa as well, so it makes a lot of sense that, yeah, being in control of the map pick, this is where they're sending us.
Yep, and I mean, as we begin to look towards that first point, something that I feel like we've started to see is teams trying to take the stair side of point rather than the lattice side. I don't know what you'd call that. Almost, it's like a courtyard almost.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the default like side that people would go to just because it's closer to the point. But being able to set up that longer range on the stairs has been really fruitful for a lot of teams. And if they are going to stick to the more pokey composition, that might that might be where Flying Blowhigh want to roll out.
Yeah, definitely. They don't want to be up close and personal with this Sigma. They would love to get themselves a little bit of distance. As we do see Rainy Mood not going to have the Reaper in his hands, potentially looking over towards the Sojourn. And all right, Nameless on the Tracer as well. Maybe we will get to see why a Nightwing, or why, no, it's a Chaimorin on the Tracer. Morin on the Tracer, but I think that this is going to be a great map to see why was the Tracer banned out on Runasapi here, as the team's going to get the Sim TP out for both sides. Nameless is going to be matching on this Tracer, so a lot of that is going to come down to these Tracer 1v1s that are going to be happening kind of over in the corner.
It is going to be Nightwings getting to the point first, and because of that, we are going to be seeing, hold on, both of these Tracers now. We do have the Tracer mirror here. Honestly, it's almost a total mirror, as you pointed out, but the cast and Sojourn can be the main difference here. Overwhite taking quite a bit of damage here. Now that they have to play the Sigma mirror, there is a bit of cooldown rotation that is going to be more important to keep track of, making sure that your shield and your kinetic grasp are staying up longer and available more often. And Nameless already having to pop that recall. The point has, for the time being, gone in the direction of Nightwings because of that early point pressure. Oh my goodness. Nameless making a name for themselves.
Ooh, yep, and that is just going to open the floodgates here for Flying Blowhigh. They're going to find that kill onto Cobalt. The point is in control of Nightwings right now, so they are building up percentage as Flying Blowhigh clean the fight up. Already 43% on the board here for Nightwings, and yeah, Nocten matching on that Sigma, getting a lot of damage in for themselves. So Nightwings are going to be able to build up to that flux a little bit sooner, as all right, well, we were waiting for a third pause to come in at some point, and I guess it's going to be here on Saravasa.
Yep, as we head into this pause real quick, I am I am a bit concerned about the Tracer Mirror from that initial one clip, but hey, a Tracer Mirror is not a single fight. It is a lot of rotation, like rotational game, both in your cooldowns and for the health packs, especially with that flanker passive sub role. That's a whole other aspect of the game that has been added. I will point out the lack of Xion by both of these teams. I do think that we have historically seen a lot of Xion throughout Season 3, but with some of her recent kind of readjustments, not necessarily bans, but just like quality of life stuff, it seems like some people have started to shift back towards other more standard flankers like Tracer and even some Genji. We started to see some Genji as well here. So, I mean, the Tracer is definitely, I think, from a place of comfort. Tracer's been around for, what, 10 years at this point? And so there's plenty of time to have learned the ins and outs of that iconic hero.
Yeah, definitely. And all right, well, Flying Blåhajar are going to grab the lead here on Marketplace, but Nightwings are 5 members here. They're ready to push in towards this point. They're building up to that gravitic clutch, like I mentioned. It's going to be online pretty early here, so giving them an advantage in the mid-fight.
I mean, so many ults being popped here, and Nameless is actually going to get 2. It just so happens that they were one of the 2. It is going to be in the favor of Flying Blåhajar here, and without the speed here, I think that's just going to be point.
Yep, I think you're right. I don't see Chimarin maybe coming in for the recontest. There's nobody else from Nightwings that's going to be able to follow up on it. No, it is going to be first point going the way of Flying Blåhajar. Now, they did commit a lot of ults into that, like you mentioned, but they will have Coolant with that Kikai Sanctuary ready to go. Rainy Mood building up to this overclock as well. We head over to Palace for point number 2, and I love this rotation from Flying Blåhajar. They're already rotating up onto this high ground. This is going to be such an advantage for them once Rainy Mood gets this overclock online.
Oh my lord, did you just see that log? Bubba Wyatt does it again. I mean, call this dude a geologist the way he's been slinging these things around. Like, Shimoran is going to find Nameless right now, but Bubba Wyatt very healthy on the point, does get chained, but with that support from the high ground right now, I mean, just so much presence here, and unable to dislodge them. This is going to go wide from Chim, it is going to get the Suzu out, but with the tank still nice and healthy on the point, this should just be Flying Blåhajar once again getting control of the point.
Yep, they sure are. Now, Chimarin is kind of lurking around on that high ground. Rainy Mood chasing out the Tracer here as it is going to be Nightwings moving up onto this high ground. I think this is really the play that they have to make. They cannot allow Flying Blåhajar to just have the space for free.
Yep, and you can see Notken pushing all the way here, making sure that everything has been taken. Now, playing out in that main thoroughfare is Flying Blåhajar. Rainy Mood, though, is going to find Chimoran. Chimoran trying to go on the flank there to assist with the pressure that they are outputting from Nightwings. But now Rainy Mood, with that overclock in their pocket, it does look like at any point they could pop this, but no need to. Bubba Wyatt yet again finds the rock, this time in the Sigma Mirror, and that's going to be 63% and counting, and with the staggers here, you have to wonder, are they going to be able to survive here and get another touch as a full team?
Yeah, that is the question. Now, Nightwings do have a slight advantage with the spawn here, but yeah, these late kills are just looking so good for Flying Blåhajar that they have not even needed to commit an ultimate into these fights, and 90% it is going to be a bit of an angle gained here from Chimarin. Will he be able to get the overtime triggered? No, it is going to be Flying Blåhajar picking up Palace and setting themselves at a map point here, and Gardens just a hop, skip, and a jump for them. They're once again going to be able to get set up first here on this point, and with all the ults online for them, they should have the advantage coming into this next fight. If you're Nightwings right now, you really want to try to just take a fast fight, try to get some of these ults out, try to build up some of your own ults, and then just play for the fight after this one.
I mean, yeah, 4 ults, nearly 5. Like, this is basically a guaranteed one fight for the side of Flying Blåhajar, unless Bubba Wyatt finally feeling that rock in the opposite direction. It is going to be Notken now finding 2. And even though the overclock did get popped, that is an ult and a pulse as well, it's ultimately going to be the point going in the favor of Nightwings. That's a very, very fortunate situation for them to find themselves in because that ult bank was so strong.
Ooh, okay, Notken very much showing us that they are not just a Zarya player here. Excellent job on the Sigma. And yeah, like you mentioned, a couple of ults coming out from Flying Blowhigh there, but they do have the Kitsune Rush to try and march their way onto the point. Starry Night should be able to match that, and where Nightwings are in control of the point right now, they should have that kind of advantage positionally, but a lot of space has already been gained here by Flying Blowhigh.
Sanctuary is going to be popped here, trying to keep Bubble Wyatt nice and healthy. Full health right now, staying alive. The Overclock from Tilted Waffle, not going to find anything because of that Sanctuary. And now as the Flux comes out, Cobalt going to get found. Rock is going to find the shield, but in the meantime, the damage on the backline is just too much. Chimoran going to be found by a stray Kunai, and that should just be the point going back in favor of Blowhigh. Unfortunately, because they lose that at 70%, Nightwing will likely have to win 2 fights here. They'll need to win the initial re-engage, and then also to secure the overtime.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So we'll see if they're going to be able to get that done. Cobalt falling early in that fight does mean that the Kikai Sanctuary couldn't get popped, so Nightwings will have that coming into this next fight here. And Flying Blowhigh don't really have anything online just yet. Nameless will be able to get that Pulse Bomb, but if Nightwings can get this Kikai Sanctuary out to just secure some space, they're going to have an advantage walking in the garden.
50% and counting, 50% away from 2-2 as the scoreline. And with that amount of time left, this is essentially last fight. Without the speed, without the aggression, they are not going to be able to get another fight. But a pick onto Rainy Moon, a massive Suzu actually saves from the Nameless Pulse Bomb. And now Jim trying to clean up. It is going to be going back into Nightwing's favor here. Now 76 and counting. Bubba Wyatt trying to stay alive, nice and healthy. But with 80% on the clock, it is going to be an overtime fight. And I mean, it does. If they do lose this, I do believe they'll get a second attack, but it's going to have to be a clean fight from either side in order to secure this. And now with the Flux coming out, big onto Bubba Wyatt. Kinetic Grasp is going to be used. Suzu is going to stabilize for a second, but with this positioning from Not Ken, Tilted Waffle going down to Rainy Moon, and so weird. Rainy Moon finding Chim as well. DPS of Nightwing taken out, and just when it seemed like it, no, 3v3, tank versus tank, supports versus supports. It is going to be who can keep that tank the healthiest. It is going to be a sponsor. Nightwing just health left. 3 health is going to be all that's safe. They're going down, but because of the low health, they're not able to help their tank stay alive. Coolant trying to keep Coolant going down. Not Ken versus Bubba Wyatt on this point. The Tracer for the side of Nightwings is back, trying to do some more damage. Bubba Wyatt finding Starry Night, the 3 health finally depleted. And now Bubba Wyatt floating around, finding a third. It is going to be Flying Blowhigh here, finally taking that. The overclock was popped. That's potentially a fatal mistake here, thinking that you needed it, but no, they're going to be now playing aggro. They realize they have to play aggro. Chim barely able to touch a bit early there. Chim going to be found out. The ball is now back as well. Chim, even though they're low health, almost as bait, is going to be found, but it does allow for the pick onto Rainy Moon. Bubba Wyatt once again trying to put the team on his back. It is going to be 2 from the tank of Flying Blowhigh, and with Not Ken back on the Wrecking Ball, the point presence not going to be as strong, but they are going to be a bit more tanky, a bit harder to lock down. C-Sharp found. It is quick down to the Wrecking Ball flying along with the Kiriko. That Kiriko on the side trying to keep them alive. A little attempt at a bounce on the wall to get a slam, not able to have it. Not Ken has to stay on the point here. Shimorn is going to find Nameless. Not Ken finds Kula. It is going to be 2 picks in the favor of Nightwing. Flux is going to come out. Rainy Moon once again finds Tilted Waffle, and now with the Sigma almost down, it's going to finally, the Nightwings taking the first point of Suravasa.
Oh my gosh, they do not give up, and they are rewarded for it. Not Ken coming back on the Wrecking Ball clutch here for Nightwings to sustain through the fight. The only really forms of CC that could really slow that Wrecking Ball down, of course, being the accretion from Bubba Wyatt or that chain from Coolant here. So excellent job. Now Ken is going to move back over onto the Sigma, however, and Flying Blowhigh are going to get themselves set up around Temple first here. Just those Pulse Bombs online for both of these Tracers, so gonna have to keep an eye on those to see who's gonna be able to find more value with theirs.
We've been talking about the Tracer mirror here, but the Soj mirror has been tit for tat right now. Like a nice lead by Not Ken onto the Pulse Bomb. Bubba Wyatt is going to be found, and this should be a nice start for Nightwings here. But the Soj fight has been very, very back and forth as well. I mean, both DPS on both sides of these teams are really just. It almost feels like it's personal at this point. Like they're trying to 1v1 each other.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I love to see it, especially on Surabasso. There's so many little lanes where you can get away with those 1v1s, and it really does just come down to kind of who is finding the first pick in these fights. And Nightwings in control at this point. They're trying to build up to this Kitsune Rush that Starry Night has. She is going to be able to get it online a little bit before C#. So as long as Nightwings can get that up, that is going to give them an advantage to try and hold on to this point. And of course, building up percentage so quickly.
I mean, something you have to start to consider is that it seemed like we were just about to 5. It felt like Flying Blowhajar had Nightwings basically dead to rights, but as 75% gets to the percentage ticker here for Nightwings, I mean, and Coolant going down, you can't help but start to have that dread in the back of your mind. Is this not going to be going to a map 5? No, Bugbears wants this to go to map 5. A Flux is going to come out, doesn't find anywhere, I'm not sure it does. Tilted Waffle in the meantime finds 3! Tilted Waffle finds 3! We're going to point 5 of this flashpoint map, and just when it seemed like Flying Blowhajar were punching their ticket to potentially a reverse sweep, suddenly they just have to ensure that they get to map 5.
It is looking a little dire here for Flying Blowhajar. Now, the good news for them is they did just commit the Kitsune Rush and from C# to match that Kitsune Rush from Starry Night. So as we head over to Ruins, they are going to have big ult advantage here, but they are not going to have the positional advantage. Nightwing's going to get set up on Ruins first here. Tilted Waffle has that overclock online. We were mentioning how back and forth these Sojourn have been, and Nightwings is going to go first with theirs.
Overclock from Tilted Waffle, a massive off angle from the side lane there. Chim, in the meantime, is going to find Nameless. Once again, that Tracer Mirror being very vital to this matchup, and that is potentially a massive flux from Bugbears. Is the follow-up there? No! It is going to be Tilted Waffle barely alive, and in the meantime, Chimoran finds a second, this time with the Pulse Bomb, confirming the pick on a Rainy Mood. The point is already in the control of Nightwings, and now, as Coolant is split off, just has to jump off the map, giving Cobalt a little bit of ult charge there, unfortunately. Nothing you can do to stop that. 25% and ticking, it's getting dicey.
It is, especially with 2 ults committed into that fight from Flying Blowhajar. They held on to that Sanctuary and to the overclock of their own. And the good news for them is that Nightwings are just going to have that Kitsune Rush that's coming online shortly here. So if you can get some space for Rainy Mood to work with this overclock, you should be able to try and win this fight. Get a flip over.
Overclock is popped quite early from Rainy Moon, sliding through, trying to put pressure onto that backline. The Eat is going to come out from the side of Nightwings, but Starry Night found by Bugbears a rock as well. The Sigma starting to go low for the side of Nightwings, but the amount of percentage they're getting here, it's absolutely diabolical. I mean, they're essentially guaranteeing that if they ever recontest this point, if they lose it, that it's going to be theirs. Bugbears finding a second. This should be Flying Blowhajar taking the point back, but starting at 0%. Not what you want. They are going to have to sustain against the incoming ult barrage that Nightwing have. I mean, look at the ult bank difference.
I know, and that's what happens here when you end up on these kind of split ult economies. It's that, yeah, Flying Blowhajar at one point had a massive advantage here, but it's going to be a pendulum swing back in the other direction here. And this beat ready to go from Cobalt. I mean, you can engage with the Kitsune Rush here, try to force out the Kitsune Rush from C#, and then you just have the beat for the mid fight here. Flying Blowhajar, when they're on that Mizuki, you have the Sanctuary, which is great, but the beat will go through that. Oh. That was a phantom.
Speed potentially very important here. When do you use it? How do you use it? Chimoran found by C#, 50% on the clock, 2-2. Kitsune Rush is used by C#, but not necessarily for the damage, but just to keep Bugbears alive. So important to keep that tank alive. But a flux at 104 health. These are they able to stay alive? They are able to stay alive, but with so little health, Kekkai Sanctuary is able to keep Bugbears alive for the meantime, and Starry Night finally finished off by that Hypersphere. It is going to be 2 picks in the favor of Flying Blowhajar, and because of that Nameless going on a tear in the back line, finding a second, I don't think that Nightwings has anything left in the tank. They don't have the ults, they don't have the positioning. All they have is a Pulse Bomb and a Dream, and Chimoran hiding in the back for one final touch. Potentially a Sticky here. Are they going to get anything? They hope to try and get the Suzu out, but they don't get it. One more touch is all they can offer, not even able to use the Pulse Bomb. The Overclock is going to actually pop by Tilted Waffle, but sliding into 5 healthy individuals of Flying Blowhajar. Nothing that they're able to do here. The ball from Not Ken, which was able to do wonders before, not much that you're going to be able to do now when all 4 of your team members are down. The Pulse lands on the ground, and map 5 barely sustained, or barely attained by Flying Blowhajar here.
Honestly, incredible stuff behind Blowhigh. This is quite the upset here on Surabasa. Nightwings selecting this Flashpoint map. They were 3-1. They had only lost this once. And unfortunately for Flying Blowhigh, I mean, they had only won Surabasa once. So coming into this, tying things up, forcing that map number 5, absolutely massive here for Flying Blowhigh. You know, a close one, just by the skin of their teeth, but they managed to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, this has got to go all the way at this point. I'm hoping for 0.3 of map 5. We gotta make this go all the way. We are going to take a very, very short break here, just to give the vocal cords a rest and give the players a chance to rest before they go into map 5. We'll be right back for the conclusion of this series.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Now, we tuned in to this play-ins match late here, and maybe we have given Nightwings stage fright because Flying Blowhigh now forcing us to a map number 5, trying to get a reverse sweep done.
Yeah, since we've joined, it has been nothing but Flying Blowhigh. That map for Surabasa was very, very close. No flame to Nightwings there. Definitely very close, going back and forth both ways. And as we head to Koth, which, I mean, essentially Flashpoint, just 1 point at a time, I'm expecting a very similar fight going on there. Meanwhile, we have some other games going on currently as well. We actually have Odin versus Echo Knights occurring currently, and Odin, the undefeated team, is currently 1-1 with Echo Knights from the other group in A-League. So that's interesting. Obviously, Odin has lost maps before. They just haven't lost a series. So we're going to keep an eye on that as that goes, because the ramifications of the of that team losing are potentially very big.
Yeah, Echo Knights, that number 4 spot, they got in through the play-ins for
By the skin
A-League.
of their teeth.
Right? Like, that was a map 5 as well, so very, very close in the A-League. Now, of course, now that they've made their way into the playoffs, it is a double elimination bracket, so if Odin lose here, they will be able to try and make a run through that lower bracket.
Yeah, the A-League bracket is starting to settle this Sunday evening. Phantom Verdict versus Siren Song, I believe, are also facing one another. Cladri's Snowdrop occurred yesterday, and then Zuriel Amatori is actually occurring right now as well, I believe. We just don't have prod for that, so we will have to wait until the conclusion of that match in order to figure out that score. But A-League is not what we care about right now. We are in the B-League, where we are having an absolute brawl right now. Currently, an attempted reverse sweep from Flying Blåhajar against Nightwings, and Shambali Monastery. Sorry, I talked about Koth because I'm so used to Koth being the last map. That was map 6 of the match versus Noble Steed and Echo Knights last night. But map 5 is going to be an escort map, which is Shambali Monastery. Once again, can play the Rush on this, can play the Sigma. However, I don't know if you want to send yourself to a map that Bubba Wyatt can play Sigma on. And Flying Blowhigh also do a protect ban here, where they ban the Ram, a very good hero, into Sig potentially. I'm concerned. I'm concerned for Nightwings.
I think, yeah, Nightwings are coming back with the Freya ban here, which, you know, we definitely could potentially have seen on Shambali. Definitely a lot of those long sight lines like we were mentioning. And of course, saw some Freya played on Runasapi on map number 3 here. So I do think that, yeah, Flying Blowhigh putting themselves in a pretty good position here on Shambali. I'm taking a look at some of the stats here, and Shambali has not been played by Nightwings here, and the only time that Flying Blowhigh did play Shambali, they did not end with the win. So this will be maybe a little bit of, you know, an adjustment here for Nightwings if they aren't quite as practiced on this escort map.
It almost feels like the final test of like which team is able to kind of figure it out the quickest, you know, almost like a pop quiz where it's like, okay, we are going to go somewhere that neither of us are proven on at this point in the season. Let's make it matter the most. Let's make the map we've never played matter the most.
Yeah, because of course, a reminder to everyone, if maybe you're just tuning in, that this is a play-ins match. So this is not the double elimination bracket that we were talking about in the A-League. This is going to be the winner moving into the playoffs, and the losing team is going to be finishing their season here. So this is very, very high stakes Shambali Monastery coming into things, as we'll see what compositions these teams will end up on, if we will get to see some Sigma from Bubba Wyatt. Now, Flying Blowhigh are going to be on the attack first, so they have a bit of time to finalize this composition, but Nightwings on the defense here, they are going to be coming out with Nakhen back over on that Zarya, and Chimarin over on the Mei as well. We saw him swap off of this pretty quickly here on Runasapi, but I think that he might be able to get more value with that on Shambali.
I think the biggest change here that we're seeing is Cobalt on the Juno, a form of speed, something that will allow their Zarya and Mei to potentially get on top of Bubba Wyatt cleaner and faster. I think that is that's what they're attempting to make their win condition.
All right, let's see if that's going to work for them. It is going to be a little TP out. Nameless is going to go over on to the Tracer here. So a very familiar comp coming out here from Flying Blowhigh. They are going to have to make this rotation up onto the high ground, of course. They don't want Tilted Waffle and the rest of Nightwings to sit up here for free.
Massive railgun shot there, chipping quite a little bit of health down there. They're going to just quickly reassess where they're pushing right now. And as they head back to point here, we're once again in this Zarya Sigma matchup, which we saw on Runasapi. And I mean, obviously Escort is a completely different monster. It is very much a game of positioning and slowly whittling away the fortifications and positioning of the defense. But the thing that I'm just so concerned about is that Bubba Wyatt is just continuously at high health. And, I mean, as this fight begins to devolve, the wall has come out so late. It's too late to attempt to get anything done here. Bubba Wyatt is like a raid boss right now. They need to find the solution here. I feel like they have a comp that can do it, they just need to be decisive with how they do it.
Yeah, I totally agree, right? You have the Zarya, you have the Mei, both heroes that can kind of cut through that kinetic grasp that will come through from Baba Wyatt, but already the Sigma has been able to stay alive and healthy for so long, you're approaching that Flux. Starry Knight, just the ships passing in the night here with Nameless, is going to find that Tracer on the corner, but the Flux coming out early here.
Flux is going to get Bubble and Suzu out, and now with Nameless in the backline as the Tracer, they are going to be attempting to get a little bit done here. They do have to back up a little bit on the side of Flying Blowhajar just because of all the ults that were popped here. A little quick jump back to the spawn there. It is going to be very quick regroup here by the side of Flying Blowhajar just because of that pressure needing to bring back the team.
Yep, exactly that. Now, yeah, Nameless is still back here. Okay, Cobalt looking to take a little bit of a duel. It's going to be that Pulse Bomb coming out, but that's a late or an early kill here for Flying Blowhajar.
Nice little grab as well. I know that some people might be like, well, you don't need the grab because you already got the pick, but when a Tracer is able to get back fast and also just like the front line doesn't really rely on them, I think it's okay to use that there, especially when you have 4 ults here cooking in your back pocket. I'm a little concerned about Flying Blowhajar running out of steam here. Pachimari Monastery is deceptively very time hungry, and they're already at a minute and a half. It's really only 2 fights left for them.
Yeah, not a whole lot to work with. They do have this Kitsune Rush from C#, but again, Starry Knight, she has hers ready to go. We're probably going to see a commitment of that in response, or even this Blizzard from Chimarin to come out as well.
Is going to find Cobalt, that speed taken out, and Chimarin is going to have the Blizzard eaten. The kinetic grasp right in the face is going to deny that massive ult, and because of that, it is going to be the Kitsune Rush used in tandem with it, trying to make up for the deficit in ultimates there. A nice little rock there is going to find Chimarin. I mean, just continuously, rock after rock, finding its place, and now not Ken, full health on the point for the time being, but with their team slowly whittling away, and no bubble to save himself here. I mean, they do have an orbital here to try and keep them nice and healthy, but Cobalt dead again. I mean, Cobalt just came back from spawn, and Rain would find them yet again. Now the overclock, this is going to be, by the looks of it, Flying Blowhajar finally getting this first point, but man, it is costly.
Yeah, it was, everything had to be thrown into that, and they do have the Pulse Bomb to work with here, but that's not going to be a whole lot to try and really gain momentum here. Chimarin briefly swapped over onto the Tracer. I was thinking maybe to try and take the duel against Nameless, who has been set up in the backline of Nightwings consistently, but it's back over onto the Mei here. Pulse Bomb. Nope, nice Suzu. Gonna keep the Juno alive here. Nightwings, they have this grab to work with, but they just are down 1. It's gonna be so hard to flip this back over.
Something that I don't think people are considering is how dangerous the Tracer is for a Juno. Juno, her glide boots are very, very good movement, but for a Tracer, it's essentially just aim brackets, right? You're on a set horizontal plane, and your ability to strafe is kind of limited. Tracers are able to just pick apart drones, and with how Nameless has been playing, that might be something that becomes problematic for them. Chimarin going to be found here to grab, not able to find any picks. It does force the Suzu, but I'm sure that you would have liked to at least get someone, or like an elimination out of it. And now giving up space here, trying to just make it another fight with 5.
This is the tough thing about the grab here from Not Ken, is that you don't really have a whole lot in terms of burst damage if the Zarya isn't at high charge, and if Tilted Waffle isn't set up to be able to capitalize on that, and now they're not even going to be able to get a contest as that payload for Flying Blowhajar moves into the 3rd point here. They're looking to get maybe a stagger kill onto Nightwings, but at the very least, they're gaining control of this 3rd point.
A massive tempo flux here, finds 1, forces Suzu, going to find a 2nd with the Hypersphere. I mean, it's just a Bubba Wyatt season right now, and this is really good pressure here. It essentially denying that very soft high ground, I would call it, and they're actually holding it offensively here from the offensive side. Usually it's a bit of a pain to try and dislodge them from there just because of these giant statues that they can kite around, but no, this is essentially a spawn hold. They are forcing them to take damage, burn cooldowns just to get out the door to contest this.
Yeah, Starry Knight, she might also have to commit this Kitsune Rush just to walk out, but Flying Blowhajar keeping the tempo going. He's gonna pop that rush first.
And as the double rush comes out, Coolant going to find a nice little chain there, but it finally is going to be a fight win in Nightwing's favor. That high charge Zarya inside the Kitsune Rush doing so much damage, and Chimarin cleaning it up alongside that rush. I mean, they do finally get the stabilization that they so desperately lacked on 2nd.
Yeah, that's right. It's gonna have to be a decent amount of fights won here for Nightwings if they want to stop this cap from coming through. Flying Blåhajar gonna have a couple more fights to work with here. They're getting some nice cycles going as well with this overclock coming online, with that Kick-Eye Sanctuary already online. Notken looking to build up to this grab. This orbit from Cobalt definitely gonna help him do that.
Reaper TP in, finding the pick, the dire triggers. Reaper's favorite ability being added to the game as a regular part of his kit, finding the pick there. And Flying Blåhajar actually are just they're gonna say, okay, we'll wait. we'll wait real quick.
It's a smart thing to do. They are kind of running out of time right now, so yeah, they don't want to take a long extended fight, especially where Nightwings are going to be set up with this grab, with the overclock ready to go here. Nameless going to move over onto the Pharah here. That Kick-Eye Sanctuary going to block a lot of the damage in from the overclock.
Yep, I mean, Kick-Eye Sanctuary is just a hard counter to overclock, especially at those distances, but it's not going to be a counter to that Graviton after it subsides. Massive pick there. Unfortunately, I think they popped that a little early. Like, it does ensure that they win the fight there and makes the final fight for Flying Blåhajar a bit tougher, but they really only have a Death Blossom cooking right now.
And if you had to pop the grab a little bit later, maybe the health pools would have been a little bit higher there for Flying Blåhajar, so Chimarin would have been able to build up to this Blossom, because right now, Nightwings are looking at a mid-fight Blossom here. You're going to have to put a lot of resources to make sure that this Reaper can stay alive.
Overclock from Rainy Mood. Tilted Waffle, though, finding Nameless. I was going to say, I feel like with how these Sojus have been acting, I would be expecting it to be dangerous to play far, and yeah, they're going to be found. 45 immediately. Flux is going to come out onto 2. Are they going to be able to find anyone? The Reaper is found. Zarya half health. Bubble is popped. Rock is going to hit the payload. Unfortunately, no damage from that for the time being, and now it's going to be a 4v4 in the favor. Actually, no. Flying Blåhajar is going to actually lose Rainy Mood and Nameless again, not Ken being the one actually to find it, and I think that's where this is finally going to fizzle out, regardless of how well that second point went. This was a bit of a tough push for first point and third point stalling out. Nightwings have a win condition here. They have a point that they can get it past. They don't have to worry about overtime. They don't have to worry about extra innings. They know where they need to get to. They just have to do it.
Yep, and you know, easier said than done for sure. Flying Blåhajar, I mean, looking fantastic on the attack with that Sigma. I think that Bubba Wyatt is going to look even better on the defense with this Sigma. Nightwings, I think it was a really smart move to move Chimarin off of that Mei over onto the Zarya, especially on third point, where, you know, you could get some nice Mei walls, but they just were not having a lot of success in kind of burning down any of the targets that got split by the Mei walls. The timing was a little bit off, so moving over onto the Reaper instead, you're going to have that Zarya bubble to just give charge to Notken and allow Chimarin to get a little bit more aggressive here. So I do wonder if they're going to, yeah, maybe stick with that as they go on the offense here, but okay, Flying Blåhajar actually going to bring out Nameless on the Mei here on the defense, so they're going to take a little page out of Nightwing's book.
I would almost say that Zarya struggles against the Mei just like the Sigma. It's just that if they have their bubbles, they'll be fine. If they're high charge, they can get out. But, like, Flying Blåhajar, like you said, are taking a page right from their book.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're going to be set up on this high ground as well. So you're going to have to either force the cart really hard here if you're Nightwings and try to just eat the damage that's going to be coming in from this high ground, or you gotta try and displace Flying Blåhajar from this high ground. And with Nameless on the Mei, it is gonna be tough to do that. If you walk up through alley, you are very much at risk of getting hit with that Mei wall. On the attack here, it is going to be Cobalt over on the Wuyong here, so one of that more kind of poke damage potential supports making an appearance.
Not a bad idea with the Wuyong. Ooh, C-Sharp actually finding Tilted Waffle. Very nice little kunai headshot there. I don't hate the Wuyong here. The only thing I'm concerned about is with how much damage has been occurring. You're kind of giving up a bit of your heal potential, obviously, but if you're spitting out the damage to try and counteract the Sigma's sturdiness, I think it might work out. Like, I can respect this angle.
Gonna be all the cooldowns forced out from Nameless, and yeah, the Mei is gonna be targeted pretty quickly there. So Nightwings, you know, they make that rotation up onto the high ground, immediately drop down because nobody from Flying Blåhajar is really gonna be able to get up and recontest that high ground. So once you're in control of it, you can drop down, force the cart here. Now, Tilted Waffle on the Pharah is gonna be taken out of the sky by Bubba Wyatt here, but it's still gonna be a lot of cart progress gained by Nightwings here, as Flying Blåhajar are going to swap over on these DPS. The Tracer coming out, the Cassidy coming out, probably in response to that Pharah.
they didn't have the people to set up at the corner. That's absolutely tragic. I mean, this corner is where these pushes come to die on the offense, and already the payload kind of getting past that is very dangerous. Nameless, however, in the meantime, is able to get Starry Night, someone who has been very integral. I believe they had 16 assists in the first half just from their healing and Kitsune rushes alone. It's very big stat lines from the Kitsune of Nightwing, so losing them detrimental in many regards. Oh, massive rock! A bubble to save them from the hyperspheres, but oh man. Too little too late, almost had him, and now here's this dangerous stall that we're talking about at this point.
Yep, now Flying Blowhigh set up here, and they have Rainy Mood on this Cassie. It's a lot of consistent damage that's going to be coming in. Tangle, scream it out.
Grab is going to find C# massive, and a Tidal Blast is actually going to be popped. Is Bubba White going to be able to survive it? No, the Sigma is not able to survive that. The Kinetic Grasp is not going to stop the incoming damage there, buddy. And, I mean, finishing with more time, definitely, than Flying Blowhigh did. 4 minutes to get through second. You know, I have to ask, obviously, things have been going well for Flying Blowhigh on this comp. What happens if they need to make a swap? Like, how do they make that decision in such a tense map 5 situation?
Yeah, it's hard to think, right? You know, Bubba White has been doing so much on this Sigma. Already Flying Blowhigh have swapped the DPS around, trying to find a little bit of a stabilization here. They do have 4 ults to work with coming into this next fight, but they died so late as that point was being cast that there's already a lot of progress on this card for Nightwings.
There's no recall there to ensure that they get back to the high ground. I don't know if they planned that, but that was basically perfect there. Timing is going to come out along with the Kitsune rush from both sides, walking down the alleyway. Who are they going to find? Anyone? Zarya trying to stay alive. No, not Kenda is going to get found by the High Noon at the very end. Getting pushed out by Bubba Wyatt. Another rock. I mean, how many? Just call him the LeBron James of hitting rocks right now. Like, bro is just on it.
Every target is being acquired here for the Sigma of Flying Blowhigh, and this is the stabilization that I think they really needed, and it's in a perfect spot as well. They're going to have this high ground control just looking down on Nightwings as they're trying to cross. Like, we mentioned it about this Zarya composition on other maps, is that you don't have the speed. You're really trying to play that kind of corner to corner here, and you're not really going to have a whole lot to contest onto this high ground. So being able to rotate over towards this payload without losing one is a big step for Nightwings, but they need a little bit more.
They're a little early, but they're just going to chill for a sec and make sure that they are nice and ready for a larger attack. Plenty of ults. Bubba White recognizes this, tries to go aggressive here, and yes, Rainy Mood is actually going to find Tilted Waffle on the side there, and the Fluxus does a great job of ensuring that the ults are not popped for now. Overclock did get used, and Tilted Waffle did go down because of it. So this is a bit more interesting now. Obviously, ult's still in the favor of Nightwings, but with 2 minutes left, Flying Blowhigh have kind of or they've given themselves a second chance here, as far as like building that ult economy back up for the final fights.
Yeah, that's exactly it. There's enough time for them to build up to this Kitsune Rush, the Deadeye. I like this rotation from Nightwings. You have the Mei now on Tilted Waffle, so you're trying to force a fight towards the coast here, but Nameless is coming up behind. Has that bomb. Oh, another rock.
The Hyperspheres could have confirmed that if they didn't go wide. That's an unfortunate rare miss from Bubba Wyatt there. The rock, as always, 100% accuracy, it feels like. But with that pick going in favor of Nightwing, it is going to be the dangerous here. Kitsune Rush just trying to keep alive Bubba Wyatt. Tidal Blast is not going to find anything. In the meantime, Shimorn floating aggressively, menacingly towards the back line. It is going to finally be, with a minute left on this clock by the looks of it, getting... Oh, no, Nameless is making sure that Chim goes down. I don't think they're going to be clutching anything else past that. But, I mean, this should be about a minute left on the time bank. No, I mean, Nameless is stalling this out. Surely no one touches this, right? No.
Surely not. No, it is going to be Nightwings moving in to the third point. Again, they don't have to complete third point. They have over 2 minutes to get us about to the end, but not quite the end. They are looking to try and build some momentum here as well, taking a lot of space. They have that Blossom and the Rush ready to go. C# did commit the Rush, so not going to be a mirror rush coming in from Flying Blowhigh.
Very early flux here, very similar to what we just saw actually. It's so deep though that there's no way to ensure that the follow-up is done. They do force on a nade by the looks of it. Ooh, a very nice chain from Coolin. Very nice, or sorry, not on a nade, tidal wave. But a very nice chain from Coolant there ensures Chimorin does not float into the front line there. And now, a bit of stabilization here. It's so dangerous for both sides here. Like this is down to the wire.
It really is. Yeah, they have the Deadeye from Rainy Mood to work with. I think Nameless on the Tracer is going to have a bit of a harder time now on this third point, trying to find kind of the angle that you would have liked as you had on the second point, especially where Tilted Waffle is on this May, kind of just zoning the Tracer out. So it's going to be hard for Flying Blowhigh to really get the angles that they want.
That is a very massive wall, but an even more massive Suzu. I believe that was some extra overhealth as well from the kinetic grasp. But the blizzard! Oh my god, that's a massive blizzard and another massive wall. Suddenly, these walls, and it's Tilted Waffle. It's not even Chim. Chim is still on the Reaper. Tilted Waffle is the one on the May, suddenly doing so much with the abilities here. Oh, I mean, this is so scrappy. 48 seconds left. There's a slight stall occurring on the point from Nameless, and as Bubble Wyatt floats back menacingly to the front line, it is going to be... Wait, who touched? Who's on? Who's on? You have to touch. There's a grab. They're going to get grabbed off. Kakai Sanctuary is there to make sure that they do not get grabbed, but once that is down, the grab is surely incoming. The grab, the Death Blossom, the Tidal Blast, they're using everything. Nothing is done with both of those ones, and now a massive grab onto the back line. Is anybody able to get them? One, it's not even a C9, it's a grab 9. What can I call it? What a close match, down to the wire. 5 maps, just back to back to back bangers that we were able to spectate, and just when it seemed like Flying Blowhigh had secured their way through a reverse sweep, it's Nightwings right at the end punching their ticket.
Absolutely incredible grab from Not Ken there, locking up 3 members from Flying Blowhigh, stopping the contest from coming through. But like you said, what a fantastic series. Flying Blowhigh forcing that map number 5. They had the win condition set. Nightwings really coming alive when they had to.
And you know what's messed up about this? You can't even celebrate that much, because the winner of this immediately has to go and face Mango Nectar, which we will be covering shortly.
Yeah.
Like, no rest for the wicked here.
Absolutely, yeah, they're going to be facing off against a very tough opponent here. Mango Nectar, of course, being that number 1 seed in the Barbarian division here. And Nightwings, now, they were also in that Barbarian division, so they are familiar, at least, with Mango Nectar. They did not get a win against Mango Nectar, but at least they have some idea of what they're going up against.
Yeah, and I mean, as we look back at this, like, who do you feel like was the most important player here for the side of Nightwings?
Look, I think that it was a fantastic showing from all of the players on this roster. Obviously, the first 2 maps where we didn't get to see Nightwings win, they would have had a fantastic showing. But look, you won that very last fight on the very last map off of 1 ultimate, and that came from the tank. So for MVP, I gotta give it to Not Ken on the Zarya. I mean, fantastic showing on the Sigma as well. But, you know, the last fight, the last play, it came to that grab that made the whole difference for Nightwings to be able to pick up this series.
Yeah, very, very well-deserved MVP there. Even though we were spectating 2 map losses, the amount that Not Ken was doing, I mean, even thinking back to Suravasa, that map was so close for those final 3 points. The amount of stall, the amount of pressure put out, and just survivability that Not Ken displayed. Wonderful showing from Not Ken. If I had to give an MVP to the other team, obviously I think it'd be Bubble Wyatt. Like that was a generational Sigma rock game there. Bro was Steph Curry from the 3-point line on that, but unfortunately not enough to get over the line. This will be the end of Flying Blowhigh, unfortunately, so we do have to bid them adieu. Which after that performance I'm sure stings, but they did give us a great showing for their last hurrah. As we look at the schedule for the rest of this week, for today, Odin have gone up, checking back into that Odin Echo Knights game. They are up 2-1. They did secure the third map, so they just need one more. However, we're not going to count Echo Knights out yet. The fact that they were able to tie that up before, we'll have to see how that goes. Zero Amatori and Phantom Verdict Siren Song, both A-League games, are also occurring right now. We do not know how those are going at the moment. We will have to see. But we are staying in the B-League here with Mango Nectar going up against the very recent victors, Nightwings, immediately. Man, that's imagine being up 2-0 and then it gets pushed to a 5-map like Giga Banger, and now you have to go and face the 1 seed. Like that's rough.
I think that, yeah, Flying Blowhajar definitely took some of the gas out of the tank from Nightwings, for sure. So, I don't know, maybe Mango Nectar going to be giving them a little bit of a thanks here. But on the other hand of things, I feel like Nightwings have to be very amped up right now to be able to close out a Map 5 banger. They're definitely going to be going into this next series maybe a little bit tired, but I think they have a lot of momentum and hype in their court.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. We are going to take a quick break real quick to swap out our lobby and stuff, but we'll be right back for the continuation of Nightwings playoff run. Welcome back. Long time no see. Rain had to go, but we got a new person. Purple Guy Cinex. Oh, I'm pointing the wrong way.
Other
Purple
way.
Guy is joining us here. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a bit tired. It's a little later than I expected to be casting this, but I'm ready to go.
Later
I'm
than
excited for
everyone.
another map 5 game, probably. So.
Are you
yeah.
expecting it?
Well, it could be 6. It could be 6 if this
That is
weekend's
true.
anything to go by. So.
That is true. Well, we know that we're already a bit behind because of that map 5 banger that we just had from Nightwings versus Flying Blåhajar. We're going to take a quick look at the bracket here just to show you where we're at. We're going to be going into Mango Nectar versus Nightwings here. Nightwings just stopped a reverse sweep to get into playoffs and immediately have to face the #1 seed in their group. Unfortunate, but the good thing is because you made it in, if you lose, you go to lower bracket. You're not out yet. So dire straits, but there's an out. As we look at kind of the history between these two teams, they did play one another earlier in the season. It was a 2-0 in favor of Mango Nectar as the #1 seed, probably to be expected. So this is a revenge match essentially. They just happen to be very tired for it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think they were up 2-0 in that series earlier, and I think if they'd closed it out 3-0, then you're basically coming into this match with like the best warm-up you could ask for. Everyone's locked in, the energy's high, but needing to deny that reverse sweep, you have to think they're going to be pretty exhausted coming into this. So hopefully they can rally and put up a good fight, but they're pretty heavy underdogs, I'd say, at this point. So we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at Mango Nectar's roster, I mean, we've got A-League players from previous seasons down here. Admittedly, some on off rolls, but like with how the league has shifted, we do have very like tenured players here. I mean, Kernmaster, Fish, Sandy, and Corey also in the support line. No slouches either. Lots of recognizable names for people who've been around for a while. And if we look at the team that just played, Nightwings, very similar. I actually highlighted the DPS line as a bunch of OGs when we were hopping into their game prior. But not Ken, MVP of last game, and also Starry Night did quite a bit on the Kiriko. I think that this is going to be a tough one for Nightwings, just based on the pedigree of player that Mango Nectar has. But it's not impossible.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Even when you have these players on off-roll, yeah, their rank goes down, but they still bring the knowledge of their main role, They have the game sense of their highest role, their peak, and that translates a lot, especially in these team environments. You can help your other players, you know where you need to be, even if you don't have the most experience on that role.
Yeah, and as we go into map 1, Lijiang Tower, who's to be surprised? No one. Everyone loves Lijiang Tower. We go to it plenty of times here, and we already have the bans actually. Nightwing is going to be banning Reinhardt out, and Mizuki is going to be Mango Nectar's choice. What do you make of these bans?
I think it definitely makes sense to ban Mizuki. That character is extremely strong right now, and he enables a lot of these slower sig comps while shutting down a lot of the stronger characters in meta, such as like Diva and these mobile characters. Ryan is another character that's sneaky strong right now, and he really enables similar kind of slow gameplay. So I expect to see something a bit faster with no Ryan and no Mizu involved, maybe some Lucio, or potentially even some Cat Bastion comps.
Yeah, I mean, Cat Bastion has just proliferated, I feel like, out of nowhere. I don't know if I've been under a rock or something, but that's been showing up quite a bit recently. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw it. For the time being, right now,
Seems like we're being spared for now.
Yeah, it seems like we're not going to have to spectate that. I actually am now thinking about what it's like as an OBS person to try and spectate Cat Bastion. Like,
Lots of nice third-person views.
At Prod, how is it? Is it fun or is it not? Is it annoying? Like, it feels like it would be a lot of, like, trying to figure out when the cat is going in or not. Anyways, I'm a caster. I'm not Prod. We're going to get into this. A quick TP from Mango Nectar to get out quickly, and already damage being sloon on the front lines here.
Pay really close attention to these Mei walls in these fights. This Sar is going to have a really hard time living when they get walled. He doesn't have that block button to live, and we're off the map.
I mean, that was fast. I mean, they did get the Mei, but yeah, you called it. Like, that Mei wall, even with the bubble for your Zarya, just the pathing immediately ruined, and you have to you have to just go out of the way. Notken actually is going to say, all right, I've
Forced to mirror ram. It's a really tough matchup to keep the Zara in, so I think it's a really good swap.
Yeah, Tilted Waffle is going to be doing a little bit of poker here, and speaking of poke, getting poked out by the Mei, who's been doing quite a bit so far this game. Notken blocking for a little bit. Both forms have been used on either side, and now we are going to have a bit of a stalemate here. Classic Ram standing in the choke here. Backline masked blow actually, but a very nice... no, wait, that was the team's wall. That was actually kind of an unfortunate wall. It blocks off any follow-up onto it. And, I mean, the side of Nightwings is quite low right now. Notken trying to clean this up. Actually, no, I just realized the ticker at the top is switched. Mango Nectar and Nightwings are the opposite colors. Or, like, the opposite ones. There we go. Yep, now I understand. It's like, wait a minute, why is Notken on Mango Nectar? Did he swap? So it was Mango Nectar.
Lots of big ults coming up on this next fight. I think the main thing to pay attention to is there's still a difference in these comps. We have the cast versus the Soj. So Nightwings really want to play these longer angles, give their Soj some time to off angle, maybe find a pick, whereas Mango Nectar are happy to stack in main, play the Ram v Ram fight with the more upfront damage from cast.
Into Annihilation slowly rolling back here, but it is going to be the side of Nightwings throwing up Blizzard first. The Kitsune Rush is going to be thrown in, and Fish just wailing away with those fists. Hides behind Notken, makes them take 2 Deadeye bullets. That's unfortunate, and that's going to be another fight win for Mango Nectar here. I mean, I can't help but feel like the pace is a lot faster from Mango Nectar, just comparing to the last game we watched.
Yeah, and Nightwings just skipping steps there. They're throwing in the Blizzard. Have we seen Suzu forced? Have we seen Amp? Everyone's running around so fast. There's just no way that that's gonna freeze someone. You gotta force these cooldowns before you can go with an ult like that.
It is going to be Saga hiding in the background right now. I want to make sure that Beat is available if it is needed, but man, it actually is going to be Fish taking quite a bit of damage here. But no, Notken gets greedy with punches. And now with the Kitsune Rush, they're going to try and take out Fish, but no, they go around the corner. No heals available there. The Beat is quite late here, but I mean, with 98% on the ticker, it is going to be kind of last fight territory. And with a full health Ramatra, I'm afraid that this first point might be going in favor of Mango Nectar.
And that Blizzard was just so massive. We saw exactly the difference in how the Blizzard was used there. The Suzu was out, the Amp was out, there was no more tools to escape it, and it just cut the enemy team in half. That's the really important thing in these Ram v Ram comps, is the cooldown trades. You want to go in and you want to use less than them so that you have more cooldowns for the next part of the fight. So really important to force these cooldowns on your terms, and that'll let your ults get the best effectiveness in the fight going forward.
If you look at the scoreboard here, I mean, it's unfortunate to say the least. I mean, it is very much so in the favor of Mango Nectar. 3 individuals actually didn't even end up falling for their side. One obviously being Fish, who did a great job of anchoring that point. But Tilted Waffle, no elims, no assists.
Yeah, and he was on the Sojourn.
Yeah.
It's like I was saying, the Soj needs that time to off angle, to build the rail, to pressure for a pick. But he just didn't have that. Mango played really fast, and Nightwings did not respond well.
They do swap over to the Bastion here. I think that... do you think that's just because they felt like the Ram was living too much?
Possibly, but it's not the greatest answer for Ram. The block is just so effective against that upfront damage. I also don't like the Bastion with Azar, but if we're off-angling to a Mei with her back turn, that'll work.
Wait, Notken goes down. How did Notken die there to a Lucio?
I think just once again on this Zarya, you're just so vulnerable to the wall. There's nothing that they can do. You bubble yourself. At best, your Kiri goes in with TP Suzu, but then she's in danger. It's really hard to play Zar into these Mei matchups without a lot of damage to break the wall quickly and get you to safety.
Yeah, very unfortunate that first pick does not end up leading to a conversion of the point there. They are going to have to go back in here, get past that slow. The initial slow is going to come in. They're going to take quite a bit of damage. Suzu's already forced because of that pressure. And now Tilted Waffle, once again, so low. Fish finding yet another, and just, man.
Another fight over before it starts.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the understanding of the macro here is just a lot stronger right now.
I would really like to see if Nightwings are adamant on playing this Zar, some kind of flanker in play, maybe a Reaper or a Tracer. They just cannot win a straight front to back. They need to be TPing a flanker onto the back line to avoid these front to back 5v5 fights.
Well, you know, if Fish decides to look away from you while in Nemesis form. That also helps. But Chimorn did admittedly find a very nice pick on the opposing Mei there with a right click. Chim has hit some pretty nice right clicks on the ice hero herself. But I mean, they do get the point. Admittedly, only 56, and now it's Starry Night finding another headshot.
Nice pick.
I mean, yeah, these are nice picks. My concern is that you can't rely on winning a game based on those. Well, now it goes the opposite.
No. You gotta look to kite here. Maybe look for a turn and crash out with your Kitsune Rush. Another Earth Blizzard.
Okay, it is going to be Ram getting hit, and they will find it. It was a very nice blizzard. The Suzu was forced, but it did not hit the Ram, so he does go down. Once again, not Ken, almost dead though. Is not going to stay alive. Oh, going in with the beat. They had. Okay, I'm surprised they used the beat there. I'm a bit concerned that was maybe not.
The health pools were blinking. It felt needed. These fights are so hectic. I don't think you can blame the Lucio for popping the ult, but all of a sudden it's really important that this next fight is clean. You need to win off ideally just grab or just rush, or at the very least force a lot with the first one before you use the second. So it needs to be a really good execution of whatever ult they choose to use.
Beat just came online for Mango Nectar, by the way, so the window for a beatless grab is gone. They would have had to play early for that, so maybe they weren't expecting it. And okay, it's an interesting grab. It's a wall to stop any more damage, and not Ken found by Blinded's High Noon. The rush now coming out, or not the Kitsune rush, but just like the rundown from the side of Mango Nectar, cleaning up a bunch of picks, and these are staggers at this point. Is anyone able to get in the spawn? Nope. A final wall gets Dusttail kicked. I mean, it's going to be final fight territory here.
Still holding on to this Kitsune Rush. Yeah. You would hope that this would be one of the fastest ults in your arsenal, that you could use it 2, maybe 3 times around. You really don't want it to be that last ult in your rotation that you use. Or possibly that or Bastion ult.
Okay, Blizzard is going to come out here for the side of Mango Nectar. How did Dusttail get frozen there? But it is going to be Mango Nectar yet again finding picks. But no, Fish and Blinded are going to go down. Fish, the anchor for the side of Mango Nectar getting picked, and it's going to be the counter Blizzard from Chim, who built a second Blizzard this round. I mean, you're talking about Kitsune rushes needing to be built fast, but Chim here, a second Blizzard in the round, and plenty of headshots to boot, fighting back.
And a much better Blizzard than the earlier attempts. A lot later in the fight, there's less of these cooldowns to save people, so it's a lot more effective. It's really not an engage ultimate, so I like to see these mid-fight Blizzards. And now we're going to see Kitsune Rush versus Bastion ult and close to a beat. It's really important we get this beat online in time. I'd like to see this Bastion ult popped early to buy some time here.
Yeah, Bastion thankfully stays alive for the time being. This Kitsune Rush is going to be very dangerous. They just have to give up the point here, but someone's going to need to ensure that they touch. Who's it going to be? It's going to be a beat again from Dusttail, keeping alive. And Strudel's down! Strudel's actually going to go down, and now Fish with the Annihilation, trying to stay alive on the point, and Blinded finding Dusttail. High Noon used, and now Tilted Waffle found as well. I'm afraid that even though the pieces were there for them to win that, they just don't flip it in the end. Mango Nectar are going to take map 1. Fairly confidently, a little rough from point 2.
Yeah, there's some stray picks going either way on Control Center, which evened up the score, but Mango Nectar seemed a lot more comfortable in these really fast rush comps. In the mid fight, they were more closely grouped. When they off-angled, they had the support there to help the hits get on the off-angle. How many times did we see that Bastion swing into White Room alone and get picked? It's just a better understanding of this matchup, so we'll see. Hopefully we can get a map pick and some bans for Nightwings that leans more into their strength.
Yeah, I mean, it's to be expected when a team that just came off of playing 5 maps in a row goes against the #1 seed. But I feel like there were signs of hope there for point 2. There were adjustments made. I feel like there was a better understanding of like how they needed to play it. But once again, you talk about the concept of skipping steps. I really feel like especially Tilted Waffle was skipping steps, where they would go into White Room like you're talking about, and they're expecting to get picks when the other team just has the cooldowns to deny that. And in the meantime, they're just taking the damage that denies them the ability to survive.
And they're swinging this White Room angle as if they were still on Sojourn. You know, if they're on Soj, they have a slide to get away. I think it's a nice off angle. It's a good way to get a pick on a Curie or a Cass and then slide away to safety. But if you're playing this Bastion, you need so much support. You have a massive hitbox. You're usually playing more for a front to back, which again makes the synergy with the Zarya sort of questionable to me. You're kind of leaning in 2 directions. A Mei Bastion is a really nice slow front to back comp where you stack as 5 and overload their front line. Whereas the Tsar wants to play like something that a lot of tank players seem to not know is that bubbles on allies are 2 seconds shorter cooldown than on yourself. So if you're not bubbling in a flanker, a tracer, a Genji, a Reaper, a Vendetta even, someone who can go and make space aggressively with these bubbles, and you're forced to use them on yourself, which I can only assume not Ken is, you're just not getting the best value out of your kit. And he's just the most vulnerable person on the whole field of anyone involved. He just walks in and has to hope he doesn't get Maywalled and burned. So I'd like to see if they want to lean into Tsar comps, something a bit faster, something a bit flankier, or if they want to lean into these slower front to back comps, we need to see a Rhine or a Sig or a Ram. However, Mizuki and Rhine will be open, so
That is
maybe
true.
something they're more comfortable with will open up now.
Yeah. I love that you bring up the Zarya friendly bubble, because I learned that from Cynics while we were playing. I don't know why I didn't know that, but it is true. Using those bubbles not on yourself is so important. Like the cooldown difference ends up mattering a lot. Like those 2 seconds really do mean the difference sometimes in those fights. As we look towards the second map, it will be hybrid, and we're going straight to Scrim's Row. All right, we're hitting the classic BPL Lijiang Tower King's Row duo.
Are we seeing a Rhine v Rhine on King's Row?
Fish is known to play the Rhine. I feel like from what we've seen of Not Ken, I would not expect that. Although there was a Rhine ban, I believe, in the last game. I don't know if that was from their opponent.
We saw Rhine and Mizuki, but I'm not sure. Okay, so the Rhine ban was from Nightwings, so unlikely that they want to pick it here, but they did go to King's Row, so hopefully they have an answer for the Rhine on King's Row. Maybe a Sig Bastion Mizuki, I could get behind that. Just overload the front line, don't let the Rhine have any fun. I support that wholeheartedly.
I'm honestly concerned that they're just gonna stick to Zarya, because Zarya can work on King's Row, but seeing that Not Ken is definitely a Zarya player, like I would definitely classify them as that. I'm a bit concerned if they try and pigeonhole themselves into that one comp that they're setting themselves up for failure in a way. Like we saw them play Ram and they did fine with it, or not Ram, Sigma, but with the speed that they're using against that Mango Nectar's using, I'm just concerned that there might be some like deficiencies in like the amount of tanks available to them.
I think, as I've said, I've said what I'd like to see comp-wise with the Tsar, but the stylistic change that needs to happen is if you're playing these Zarya comps right and aggressively enough, then you won't care if a wall gets put behind your Tsar, because you're all walking forward anyway, and she has someone behind you who she's bubbling. So she doesn't care if she can't walk backwards, because she's walking past this Rhine, past this Ram, and shooting backline. So they need to play less front to back, they need to use off angles and flanks, and really just overload the enemy backline if they're going to play this more aggressive Zarya. Well, they won't be, it's banned. We're going to have to see what their next best pick is.
I mean, yeah. This is very... I mean, if Not Ken is very much a Zarya player, this might be a very dangerous situation where they're immediately into an 0-2 situation.
On the other hand, we have our concerns about them playing Zarya into Rhine here. So Mango Nectar potentially banning a hero that their comp already counters.
Yeah, I do feel like sometimes teams will focus what they feel like was someone who is performing well regardless of how their comp plays into it. I'm expecting a Reinhardt here. The Lucio ban makes sense, or a Reinhardt to be played here. The Lucio ban makes sense just because of how smothering Mango Nectar was in their tempo. Like, I get that, but like you can substitute Lucio for other speed at this point in the game.
Yeah, potentially just based on these bans, I have to assume Nightwings, they're a lot more comfortable in this Mizuki. They want some kind of Mizuki mirror. Mango Nectar, maybe they're more likely to opt into with Lucio ban, some kind of double flex support with a Juno, keep the speed. But I think Nightwings, they're happy to slow the game down, not let themselves get run over. They think they can bully the Rhine without speed, and we'll see if they're right. I do think Mango Nectar might come to regret this Zarya ban. I think without the speed, they could struggle to play into something like a Sig if Nightwings pull that out in response to the Zarya ban.
Yeah, and I mean, as we get ready to head into the map here, there needs to be an answer to the tempo. This is a different match. This is a different matchup completely than what you just played. You need to kick it into high gear as far as like your responsiveness. You need to lock yourself into that ebb and flow. You're no longer playing static Overwatch where you are holding positions and just like essentially just like healing out each other. Like whichever healer does more healing wins. You need to be playing with the ebb and flow of the game. Going to corners.
We need to see that push-pull. If one side is overloaded by the enemy team, you know, they send 3 for your 2, then that means you have a 3v2 somewhere else on the map. You need to push and pull, see what they give. You need to force cooldowns and respond accordingly. If you force Suzu, that's great. But if it costed you your Soji and an Mizuki chain, are you really on advantage? You need to recognize when the cooldown trade is advantageous to you and walk aggressively when it is. So hopefully we can see that. And hopefully we can see the ult usage being a bit more mid-fight for these weaker ults like Blizzard. And people getting more value once they force these really important cooldowns.
I don't know if you saw that, but Not Ken pulled the golden Orisa like Funko Pop.
Holy high roll.
Is this how the favor turns towards them? Like that's a crazy pull.
If anything was gonna do it, it'd be that.
Well, speaking of gold, you might not want to pop your gold that quickly. That was a pretty quick gold from Not Ken there. Already spears being thrown in their way, but I'm gonna be honest, I did not expect them to be here.
Nor did I, but I really prefer a Nightwings version. I think this Mei is going to be pretty useless into Nightwings' comp, and he should be looking to swap the second they lose this first point. I think the spam that Nightwings have, they're just going to surround them and overwhelm them. And you can see they're already being corralled on their own defense into the attacker's spawn.
Yeah, actually really beautiful rotation there from Nightwings. Like, they've been watching some OC VODs. I feel like I remember a very specific VOD about King's Row, about taking high ground that was that exact rotation. And Not Ken does find Strudel, but Blindy does find Chimoran, so both teams down 1 DPS. Orisas are going to be shooting at one another, both very weak. Fish is going to be the one that falls, and now we see how this rotation game plays into their favor. The right click misses, left clicks will find Cobalt, but something I'm noticing here, no one's on the point right now. You're getting the picks here, but the percentage is only just beginning to accrue. Do they get a second fight here?
I think it'll be challenging. This Soj is staggering herself, and these attacker respawns are just so much closer.
Oh, they're going for it. Oh, beautiful.
Doesn't look great.
Yeah, no, that's bad. Look, they're even trying to leave now. I mean, oof, this is just the... And there's that Mei yet again. Like, the Mei is getting bullied by the Orisa.
This spam difference is so huge. It's so hard to play as in a Orisa mirror when your team is just doing leagues less total spam than the enemy. Nightwings can take every angle, and they just overwhelm the front line. It's impossible to stand anywhere. They just have to concede and concede and concede. What are we even hoping to achieve with a Mei wall? You wall behind the Orisa, she presses gold, she spins, she doesn't care. I'd really like to see him swap this pick. Maybe we're keeping for the Blizzard, but you have to think it's going to be tough to get value. The Pharah is in the air, the Orisa has so many cooldowns, and the Suzu as well. It's just, it's going to be really tough.
They've already had to burn that because of a nice spear from Not Ken, and now as this push begins, Chimoran floating over the roofs. Is anyone going to see it? Nope, that's immediate 2. A beautiful positioning. Even well, Jim gets 3. Might as well. The Orisa ult here just to confirm things. Because of Blizzard did come out, it does find Tilted Waffle. Probably the only person you'd expect to potentially ever get caught by that. But in the meantime, it is just going to be the rest of Nightwings cleaning up this fight. So much was actually invested into this, looking at this now. And they didn't really get anything out of it.
And crucially, towards the end there, they died off the cart. So getting extra progress for Nightwings, the possibility of a recontest here is not even looking very good. They might be able to get one with a Mei wall or a Mizuki touch, but I think there's a good chance that Nightwings come into third with a lot of time here.
I mean, this is even the spam that you've talked about so much is already so bad. A nice boop as well. Are they even going to touch? So much is having to be used just to ensure that touch barely gets the spear off to avoid being destroyed by that dead eye. But now the flank from the cast. Are they able to find anyone? Yes, they actually do find Sandy. Blinded is going to trade out with Overclock, and now with the Overclock, they're going to be pushing it, trying to find any more picks. But no, the Orisa on the side of Nightwings is so much more healthy than the side of Mango Nectar. Fish has been really struggling in this matchup because the spam is just so much better from Nightwing. And now a very aggressive Juno float there. That was a bit dangerous, but nope, doesn't matter. Not Ken. Going to find one more. Fish somehow still alive on this. Kakai Sanctuary now being dropped as well. This is suddenly potentially winnable for the side of Mango Nectar. Chimoran finds Strudel. And, I mean, you gotta shoot the supports. At some point, you gotta stop shooting the tank and recognize who's keeping the tank alive. There was a flash in the pan where they could have potentially turned that, but, I mean, Cobalt just stayed alive.
That Kekai Sanctuary was so massive and really shows why this Mizuki can be really strong. However, in a long fight, an extended fight, this Junokiri is just so much more healing, and as we've been talking about, they just have so much more damage. It's really unplayable for Fish at the moment. That noon from Tilted Waffle right at the beginning, I would be really mad at Myris if she didn't body block that for me, so I don't want to be in their comms for that play, but just looking for a barrage here, possibly.
I think they were looking for a potential Orisa, like Ursa barrage combo. Didn't end up happening. Fish does find one with their ult, a second just with the primary fire, but at this point you've already lost the fight. Kitsune Rush was used as well. All they're gonna have is Blizzard. To be fair, like, hey, it is at the very end where everyone, like, someone has to be on the point. But if it's an Orisa, like, oh, well,
and a pause. Those are good trades, but they were pretty empty trades because, again, we're dying off the cart, so we just give so much progress and we catch a later wave, so it's still going to be a hard recontest after this pause. I really don't like how Mango Nectar are playing this. They look really uncomfortable without their speed boost.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely the thing that set them apart from Nightwings in the first map. It was a clear difference. It looks like Sandy did have a DC. We're going to get Sandy back into the lobby. Shouldn't take too long here. Hopefully internet is not fully out. Without the speed, I can't remember. Were they running a Juno or were they Kiri Miz?
Which team?
Mango Nectar.
Mango Nectar are on the Kiri Miz May.
Okay, so yeah, they've opted to not use the Juno, so they have less heals and no speed. Their Mei is currently on point. They need to stall for as long as they can before using Ice Block. They've already used the wall. They have a Widow to try and get who was it? Was it Carpe
Fleta?
or Fleta? Yes, the Fleta clutch from that spot.
Headshot after headshot.
Yep. But it is going to be tough.
It is going to be a tough fight, and I think this Widow pick actually don't like it because while May's fighting for his life on point, he's going to be sitting in an ice block. They need to make kills happen, so all of a sudden we need these hero picks from a Widow. With anything less than a couple of headshots, and you have no win condition, you have no way of securing any of these kills. I don't know exactly what the ult bank is, but it's suddenly a really difficult situation to play. I actually really dislike the swap here. I would like to see some comp swaps as well from Mango Nectar, maybe on their attack. I think they need to pick an identity and stick with it. If it's a Mei, then we need to see some speed boost, and we need more of an ability to absorb this front line. I actually quite like the Mizuki into these spam comps, but you need to be able to overload this off angle. You need something like a Mizuki Tracer or Genji to fight the Sojourn or the Pharah on an off angle, to take that 2v1, force out that side, and then therefore your front line can win their fight. You're just getting completely surrounded right now. You can't use the Mizuki's off-angling ability at all because the rest of your comp is a front to back, which you're losing the fight in. But we're going back in now.
We're going to see if we can have one headshot. We're going to get a body shot. That'll do for now. Chimoran is going to have to chill for a second. The Mei is stalling out. Ooh, that was actually a very clean shot. Nice little jump. And hey, that's one headshot. Can we get an after headshot? No. Chim is going to get out, but going to stabilize for now. Ooh, are you going to stay alive? Nope. Yes. Okay. Oh, okay. Almost TP'd up for that.
And we're keeping the Widow, so all of a sudden Mango Nectar's comp has almost no consistent form of damage. I think this Orisa is going to be very, very healthy on the side of Nightwings.
I mean, yeah, Blinded also already taken out by the corpse of Cobalt. Like, that's unfortunate. The pick potential is gone now, and now, I mean, there's just no damage. Like, there's nothing to stop this push now from Nightwings, and yeah, you're already seeing it. Barrage, or sorry, not Barrage, but the Kitsune Rush, mind you, a little late for that pick Blinded. 2 minutes and 6 for King's Row attack here for Nightwings, and Mango Nectar feels lost without speed.
Definitely. I mean, we've been talking a lot about what Mango Nectar is doing wrong and what we'd like to see from them, but what a great resurgence from Nightwing. They're clearly showing us how much more comfortable they are on these not standard brawls when they can surround and overwhelm Mango Nectar, and they're doing a really great job of it. They're making sure that every fight they get into, they have at least 2 angles. They're never all playing down main. They're making Fish's life really difficult, and when there's no tank v tank consideration, they're winning their duels. And so all of a sudden they're taking over. We went from a barely not close Li Jiang to full capping with 2 minutes on King's Row. So really good idea from them, and I hope they stick to it.
Yeah, and you know, as we look at the potential hovers here, I would be very I think it's a good swap, but I'm surprised that they've both swapped independently, potentially to this Freya mirror. Freya will be great against the Orisa. Like the spam is just going to be so much better than what they were running. Also, Strudel getting off the Mei, that's definitely going to be an improvement. Is blinded, for lack of better words, blinded by the picks that they got on the Widow? Are they sticking to that? Sure.
I mean, could just be a spawn shot. We'll see. I don't hate it so much with the Freya to have that consistent damage output, but the Mei Widow was just, you have no consistent way of dealing with the enemy tank. Yeah. So it looks like they will be making a swap. Okay, the Tracer, so all of a sudden they have this off-angle threat. The Zuki Tracer kind of to overwhelm maybe the Juno or the Kiri or one of these hit scans, and they have the Freya still for consistent output of damage. So we'll see, they need to fight these off-angles hard.
Like, you've got the high ground that is not being pressured at the moment, and because of that, I mean, it's just free reign for them. Unfortunately, Not Ken is going to go down. That's not what you want to see. And now with Tilted Waffle here, oh, ship passing in the night. Nope, it's going to be a ship sinking in the night. Blinded is going to find Tilted Waffle there. Unfortunately, not getting the pick for the side of Nightwing. It's a bit scrappy right now. Asusu is going to keep Starry Night alive for the time being. A TP as well. This is, I mean, just running for their life right now. Strudel is going to find Chim. Yeah, this is Mango Nectar finding their spots.
Pressuring point the whole time is the key point.
Yep.
They recognize they don't need to clear high ground, because if they stand on point, someone needs to come to them. They anchor their wrists on the point, they set up their angles, and they say, whoever touches this point, they're dead. We're making sure of it. And that's exactly what they did. They waited for the drop, and they punished it, and repeat. And Nightwings, they just didn't have an answer. They didn't know who they were dropping to point. They dropped their Orisa, and then all of a sudden, a Kiri Juno have to peek over the edge to kill their Orisa, and they're extremely vulnerable.
Mango Nectar do have 2 DPS ults here, just a little bit ahead of Nightwings. High Noon just came online for Waffle. But, you know, the ults for the damage of Mango Nectar are going to be faster. Yeah, they're fast charging. You're hoping to get 1 at most. Bola, honestly, is more for comboing, I feel, at this point. Spears traded, and as the fight begins to evolve here, recall, pulse, nothing gotten from it. Blinded is going to be found off of the recall there, nothing to save themselves, and this should be the fight going in Nightwing's favor. Yeah, just running them over with the
Yeah, it's good to win the fight cleanly there, but we would have really liked to hold on to that Kitsune. I think we popped it with at least 1 kill already gotten, maybe 2. It's a big ult. In a comp where you don't have many strong ults, considering, you know, this Noon and this Frey ult not very strong, the Kiri ult is one you'd really like to use on maybe a harder fight than that. They're going to have to respond to the enemy Kiri ult now, and they, at best, are going to have a Juno ult, which is probably a losing match.
Blinded, a little lost, Tilted Waffle helping to clear that off angle. The bullet does find a pick on the big brain, so the value is gotten there. Continue Rush was also, and Terra Surge used from the side of Mango Nectar, and it does end up flipping this in their favor. Even though they were down their Tracer there, the ults that they used were able to kind of flip this. But does Fish go down? Does Fish stay alive? No, Fish is down.
But Not Can, unlikely to live, and again, we're dying off cart, so the recontest is going to be really tough. These fights are so hectic. Fights are happening everywhere, ults are being popped all over the place, and that tends to just favor the attackers.
Blinded with the beans guns. I mean, on the off angle here. Looking for a little bit of pressure here. Fish is going to be getting back before Not Ken, which... Oh wait, no, Not Ken potentially getting back first somehow? Okay, no, they get back at the same time. That's crazy. And because of that, we essentially have a 5v5. Strudel does get taken out by Tilted Waffle, but Fish will trade that out. The damage from the Bola was quite good. And now 4v4. Blinded back into the backline. Nope. Leaves for a sec. Chimorin, very nice body shot, just finding Blinded there. Finishes off the Tracer, and now with both DPS gone, that poke, that damage spam is just not going to be capable of being survived. They have to back out.
Yeah, this Freya character is just so powerful in these fights. Only needs to see you for a split second and can just fill you with bolts. We saw basically every pick that fight coming from a Freya, and this Bastion character is going to be really tough to play into an Orisa Freya, just looking to pepper him constantly.
That was actually a great spear spin from Notken there, keeping the Bastion alive. That fight would have 100% gone the way of Mango Nectar if that Bastion gets eliminated, but the spear spin keeps them alive. And now, as we start to set into the malaise of second point stall, pushes come to die here quite a bit. I mean, you and I think it was our first regular season game. Our push ended here, and I'm sure plenty of people in the Twitch chat have had pushes on Kings Row end at this far second point, just because the attack spawn is so far. Like, how do they ensure that they don't get stalled out here?
Well, considering they're playing this Tracer Mizuki, I'd love to see a lot of angle pressure being used. I'd like to see this Yuki Tracer holding onto the left side, being a nuisance. You know, Kiri Juno is a very greedy support line. Gotta look to pressure that Juno out of the sky.
I'm afraid that Notken was a bit too over anxious there. They tried to start with they tried to turn that fight with a Terra Surge, but the issue is that it was so far into the enemy backline that there was no follow-up. Like, this is something that you and I talk about all the time, which is like, yes, you can have a big ult as a tank, but if there's no LOS or no vicinity to your players to actually follow up on it, most times, with how many, nullification abilities there are in this game, whether it be movement or cleanses or TPs, whatever, like, you have to be using these ults in somewhere that your team can follow up at.
And with a comp like Nightwings, you just have so much healing. If you play safe as this Orisa, it's very hard to dislodge you. It's only when you go out of that Juno LOS, that Fury LOS, that you become vulnerable.
Popping quite a few ults here. It is going to be Chim finding Strudel. Chim has been doing quite good on this Freya, I must say. Obviously, Chim, a bit of a flex DPS player, but known to play Tracer, and obviously the Freya, no slouch on it either. The Kekai Sanctuary was used by the side of Mango Nectar, and really all it has done for the time being has ensured that they stay stable on the point. It's going to be Chimor now with the Bola, finding Blinded. And, I mean, they do have the Freya of their own, but I just feel like Chim is getting a lot more done right now.
Yeah, I think where the first round was a story of one team having an overwhelming amount more damage than the other, this round seems to be an overwhelming difference in healing. Chim is outputting a lot of damage on this Freya, but I feel like Fish is just getting so much less healing than Notken here. This Juno Fury is just keeping this Orisa alive forever.
What is the target of the chain? I feel like that's the question against this comp. I mean, like, the chain feels almost cosmetic against some of these characters.
Well, I think the Mizuki can work, but you're looking to basically look to engage with your flanker. You wanna shift in with the Tracer that they're no longer on, and find a chain on an enemy DPS or support and pressure backline. But without that flanker, you're suddenly playing kind of a bit of a front to back again, and this Mizuki is just not able to output as much healing as a traditional flex support like Juno.
45 seconds left on the clock. Kitsune Rush is all that they had used for the last fight on the side of Nightwings, which is honestly very big. It's going to be 4 ults versus 4 ults. It's going to get really messy, and with how these teams have been playing, I'm expecting quite a few things. A Venn diagram thrown on the ground by the opposing Orisas. It is going to be Fish taken out. However, the Orisa for the side of Nightwings, Notken is going to go down as well. The chain that we were just talking about finally finding something, but Chim, once again, with a Bola onto Blinded, just has Blinded's number for the night. And now, 20 seconds left. Fish for a second. Okay, yes, Fish is going to swap to Reinhardt. I don't know.
That's gonna be tough.
Yeah, and Notken's like, all right, I'm going Ram. Like, this is gonna be rough. There was a brief second where Blind went to Widowmaker, but no, they want Cassidy now, the more consistent damage. And now Fish on the Rectangle Man, attempting to push this over the edge just to get to a chance at a draw, but no, Notken with that orbital is just running into the backline. Fish running in as well, but this is going to be map 2, Kings Row, going in favor of Nightwings. A total shift in momentum from what we saw map 1.
You know, I hate to say it, but I think this Zarya ban might have been a bit wasted. I think if Nightwings were planning on playing Zarya, I'm sure they're glad they aren't on it now, and I think Mango Nectar are realizing that they maybe didn't make the best use of their ban here.
Like, you might have, like, that might be an instance where you just showed Nightwings a comp that they can use against you, and that's unfortunate. Tied up 1-1. I mean, I don't think Nightwing would have it any other way, considering how their last match went. Actually, no, they probably want this to end for their own sakes. I don't know if there's any EU people on their team, but holy moly, it's probably late. Tied up here as we look into the next map, which will be a push map. Once again, I'm honestly not even thinking about the Zarya being back. I feel like that's such a non-thing now. Like, they can use it, but I don't really care. Yeah. Like,
they've proved to us that they are able to and willing to win in these like double poke, extreme surround comps. The Zarya, that's just a completely different style, so it doesn't work with that. So we need to see if Mango Nectar have an answer to this. Are they gonna be able to fight these side fights, stop themselves being surrounded, or are they gonna be able to take a mirror and win those straight duels? Or are they going to be able to go back to a brawl comp and stack as 5, absorb this damage, and pick a side and run it over? Push is a good mode to do that on, and to be honest, the map choice, it's sort of up to them. I think they're all pretty equal in terms of it's just comfort. I don't think it changes the strengths and weaknesses of the comps super heavily. It's sort of the same with Flashpoint, where it's just what you're comfortable on. And they need to decide what's the matchup they want to choose, how are they going to do it, and then they need to execute it. Because right now, I think the momentum has swung heavily in Nightwing's favor. If I were them, I would be looking to keep the Orisa going, keep the double flex support going, keep the Freya going for sure. Mango Nectar had no answer to the Freya, just peppering their tank all game, and we'll need to see if they have any way to counter it.
They've gone ahead and picked Colosseo here, which I'm actually kind of surprised about. I don't feel like my first guess at what they would pick would be Colosseo, just because I feel like the sight lines are going to be good for a Freya if they want to play it again. But I mean, I guess if your other choices are New Queen Street and Runasapi, like there's not really like a crazy choice.
There's no better brawl option, right? I suppose. But they're all sort of pick your poison. There's some long sightlines. You're gonna be surrounded and you're gonna be spammed. It's how well you can answer that. How well can you, as a brawl comp, reach your destination without losing someone? Can you group up? Can you get from A to B without getting picked off? Without being forced to use big cooldowns like Suzu and Amp? And on map 2 they couldn't, but they will have their Lucio back. There's no more Lucio bans for the rest of the series. They will be able to speed to their heart's content.
What do you make of Mango Nectar banning the Juno? I mean, obviously, Nightwings played Juno last map, and it worked out really well for them. But, like,
I think just recognizing that Nightwings really benefit from these sort of double flex support type backlines. Even when they ban Mizuki, who is sort of a main support, it's still more of a non-traditional main support. They like to play these high sustain, sort of double flex supporty backlines, slow the game down. So taking Juno out just removes one of their ways to do that, and maybe recognizing that Nightwings aren't as comfortable on the Lucio themselves. So if they feel like they can force Nightwings to need a speed, they're confident in a Lucio mirror. Yeah, but if I was Nightwings here, I wouldn't even consider it. I would go the greediest double flex support backline I could, because Mango Nectar have not shown the ability to play flankers and punish flex supports at all whatsoever.
I think that. Wait, what? No, you can't ban Zarya. Zarya was already banned. What are we doing?
No, they can.
They can?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's the best use of your ban. I don't. Mango have shown no real desire to play the Zarya, but maybe it's sort of a, here we don't even need Zar, we'll ban it ourselves. Or maybe they have a read that Zar is something that they like to go here, or they're making a substitution. I'm really not sure.
Ban based on how map 1 went. I feel like that would have been a reasonable ban. But maybe
I'd agree.
maybe because of Colosseo not being full brawl, maybe they want to save a Ram ban potentially for Flashpoint, where it's definitely going to be more beneficial.
But if you're gonna ban a tank, you would think, Ram, one of the tanks better able to absorb this sort of heavy spam that you seem to want to play. I don't think. Maybe it's an idea of, they want to play Orisa now, and they think the Zarya is just too good of a counter to Orisa. They
maybe.
don't want to leave it open. I think that's a bit short-sighted. I don't think the matchup is as bad as people think, but if it means that they're gonna stick to what's working for them and this Orisa spam comp, then fair enough.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. If they do fully transition over to this Orisa comp, that is an interesting pivot. Obviously, it worked out great for King's Row, but pushes another beast altogether. As we get ready to head into this map, what do you think the win condition is for Mango Nectar here to kind of right the horse?
Well, if the matchup is what I assume it'll be, which is that them leaning into Brawl, whereas Nightwings stick to their more spammy version, they really need to be able to stabilize. They need to rush down one side. They need to play their cover well, so that they can make the rotations they need to without losing people. And another really important thing, especially for playing Brawl on push, is you need to play the push macro well. You could write, the IOStux GOATS thesis level of paper on all the parts of push macro that you can do well and poorly. And to be honest, so far we've seen objective macro not be played very well in this series. People dying off cart. That can cost you your whole lead in a matter of a minute on push. You could be up 100 meters, but if you take a fight in a bad spot, or you flip the map while the enemy team is pushing the cart, you can just lose it all in an instant. So really need to see consideration to where the bot is, what the angles are, and see them play this speed boost comp pretty fast if they're going to beat something like a Freya or Orisa.
I'm ready to see what the comp plan is here. This is gonna...
I'm ready to have it be nothing to do with everything we just talked about. Just 10 new heroes.
Yeah, okay. Nightwing is actually going to run the Mizuki Kiri now with that Juno band. Kobo even says, guys, where's Juno? But yeah, kind of just substituting the Mizuki in to fill for that ban, and everything else kind of staying similar. Mango Nectar, though, that's where the changes have occurred. Lucio back in the game, so the standard Lucio Kiri, but you've got Fish on Sigma and Kernmaster now on Xion, who we have not seen yet this series.
You've got to think this Sig is just as simple as that. They expect an Orisa, they pick a tank that they think has a decent matchup into Orisa. You can still make Sig Rush work, but it's definitely not the first choice of Rush tank.
So what do you think the thought process is behind the Sig here? Is it to absorb this poke a bit more? Because
yeah, I assume Fish has been having an absolutely miserable time that entire King's Row, and he says I need to play something with more mitigation tools, and Sig is the best option to do that.
Unfortunately, Chim, who has I can't lie, Chim's kind of having a game on the Freya right now. Finds Big Brain quite early in the fight there. And, this starting area for Colosseo has so many just angles that you can take. And Freya is so nimble. Like, getting onto that off angle and finding Big Brain is probably not too hard.
Yeah, this Freya character is so strong. Like, received so many buffs back to back. Unfairly, might I say. She's really, really, really annoying, but look at the pressure he's putting out. He has his ult already. Yeah. And this isn't even the Freya who won the first fight.
Nope, this is the Freya that lost the first fight. Already has ult.
Awesome. And no use of the passive either, I'm pretty sure. That's just raw damage.
Yeah, I mean, they bring it back into their favor, Mango Nectar, and now that the push begins to go in their way, Nokken is actually swapped. We have multiple swaps from Nightwings, actually. We have an Emre instead of a Bastion and a Sigma Mirror.
I think that's fair. I think the Orisa Bastion, very tough to play into another comp with lots of spam, like Mango Nectar has. So they're probably being peppered by the Freya, not really able to play the game too well. That is very aggressive.
That Tilted Waffle got bailed out by the Suzu and the Sentry there. This is actually such a greedy flex. There's no way that this converts, right? Okay, it does get Kekai Sanctuary out, but oh, the chain as well. Suzu's gonna have to be used, and now a Kitsune Rush from the opposite side. That Bola is hitting a wall. That's unfortunate.
This is exactly the kind of indecision that loses you so many meters on push. We just can't decide whether we're committing, we're using ults, but we're kiting, and then we're somewhere turning it around. So maybe they were right to all along. I don't know where these kills just came from.
That was surely not, right? Okay, that was I think that's what we call a classic BPL ult fight, where everyone's just like, well, I have my Q, and other people are using Q. Like, I should use my Q. Like,
yeah,
how the game works.
If I was in this game and I was on Mango Nectar there, I wouldn't have pressed any of those buttons. I would have yelled at everyone to just die on card, but they made it work, so what do I know?
Beat is used here to counteract this override, but I mean, the beat has already gone out, and I mean, a direct hit is not enough to get the pick. They're blinded, is going to be found, but Fish is found. Bola is going to hit, but no picks. I don't believe they got the checkpoint. No, checkpoint was not gotten. Thorn is going to go down, and I mean, some of these picks are honestly kind of annoying. Like, you're going to have to wait for your team just a little bit. Surely not another pick. Like, get the Lucio. Surely Saga. Okay, Notken finally cleans it up. It's a bit messy. There is going to be a fight back at center here due to that, due to those picks.
Tilted Waffle, after that Emerald, making another swap. I do like the Soj here more. Better at taking an off angle, has that slide away, and the ult, as we just saw, is very difficult to use versus the Freya. You're a very big target, so this Soj on an off angle should hopefully be a much bigger threat than Freya was.
I'd also like to see Tilted Waffle like stick to the Sojourn. This is their third hero this match so far, and I know that you get perks faster the further into the game it goes, but like you want to start getting some of these more important perks like in play. Like I think that it makes sense to swap after the ult, but you're gonna want to try and stick this out past just an ultimate here. Kitsune Rush is going to be used by the side of Nightwing. A nice little shot from Chim. Tilted Waffle with that right click is going to find it. There's the conversion that we needed from that Sojourn already. And now this fight definitely going in the favor of Nightwings, but a pick from Mango Nectar, not what you want. Ooh, are they going to be able to keep their... Okay, that's actually rough for the side of Nightwings. I think Mango Nectar are quite happy with forcing Kekai Sanctuary for basically just off of not wanting to die.
You can understand why he pressed it, but gonna really make this next fight difficult not having it. Maybe I would be looking here to maybe stack under, hopefully bait the enemy Kitsu and maybe run away. It's gonna be a very hard fight to win straight up.
I mean, all you have is Bola. Like, and already starting
not even at all.
Okay, well, Bola hits the Lucio. Okay, they do get one. It is even technically. Fish is half health. Flux is going to come in though, and that is going to decide this. I mean, that's all you need. There was a potential there of that going their way, but the old bank was just not in their favor.
Honestly, considering the old bank and how the fight started, a lot of meters gained. Mango Nectar not too quick on getting on the cart, so now one fight we'll see Nightwings going into the lead if they win a fight in this middle section here. Very, very close game. Need to pay a lot of attention to this clock, this Xion ult, and this beat. This next fight is really crucial.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to dictate not just one fight win, but two, potentially just off of the ult economy alone that you're speaking of. It is going to be blinded, though, finding Cobalt. Cobalt, once again, found a stray. I'm not sure if it's the just not being on the Juno there that they were definitely more comfortable on, but this is going to now be not only checkpoint, but pushing past the checkpoint, a crucial point in any push match.
Yeah, this will probably swing the game. There's going to be a lot of meters gained here, then a forward spawn for a mid fight. Mango Nectar probably take 30-40 meters of lead here, at least.
The dangerous thing whenever this happens is when a team gets that checkpoint is that the defending team starts to rush. They start to be like, well, they can't get any more meters. Okay, that's a very nice pick from Chim. Tilted is going to go down. Flux is going to get beat out, so I mean, at least there is an ultimate trade there, but they're going to need more. Saga with 2? Excuse me? How is... I mean, Lucio did get damage buff. Like, maybe Saga's on Lucio for that reason, but that's unfortunate. You just lost both your DPS, and Chim swapping the Tracer.
The speed noon, and the cart is just rolling and rolling. Already a 40-meter difference now. You have to imagine this is probably deciding the map that we're seeing right now. This clock needs to be big. You can't afford to use anything else here.
I mean, they're just LOSing it. They don't need the. It's an aggressive slide. Ooh, a very nice headshot from Blinded here, actually, from the side. And with that, I mean, they're just staying alive very well. Blinded doing some very nice shots right now. And Fitch with the flux as well. I mean, this is just more meters packing on to what was a close match up until this point.
And that was a really clean kite from Mango Nectar. They didn't get greedy. They kited the Sojourn before returning with their own ults. And they're benefiting from it. This is the kind of lead that just wins you the game. It's very hard to come back from a difference this big.
Rock and Shield are out of commission for Fish, but I mean, they're able to stay alive for the time being. There's not really much threatening them, but now the Kitsune Rushes are going to be traded in. Saga yet again.
Another pick from the Lucio.
What is Saga is doing some stuff on the Frog guy. Shimorn is going to find Blinded, getting the best out of that Cassidy player on the Tracer. Rock is going to get Suzu out, but I mean, surely Nightwing is able to win this without him. You've already used both of your support ultimates, actually, not just the Rush, but also the Kakai Sanctuary. You need to win this, and that might have been a mistake though. Saga using Beat, are we sure?
Yeah, this is. I think they'll probably get away with it. This can be the trap that you fall into when you take the lead on push, which is you see the end of the map, it's right there. You think, oh, we could be finished now instead of in a minute and a half. So you start throwing ults to get that full cap when realistically you'd be better off saving it and making sure you hold on to the lead that you have. All of a sudden, the ult's kind of swinging in the direction of Nightwings, though it's still a big task to overcome this deficit.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see a Flux now without a Beat to counter it. Obviously, Suzu's there, but like if they get it out, there's not really much to stop it. They haven't really been fighting to get Suzu out. Massive stick! Oh, but there's the Suzu! There's the Suzu! That's actually so massive. Do they look for the Flux now? Shimoran does go down. That's very unfortunate. And now the speed High Noon. This is so dangerous. Kinetic Grasp. Okay, they're able to survive for now. And now here comes the Flux. That's going to be 3 people. That's absolutely massive. And another Suzu! He was too late! So clutch on the Suzus. This map being confirmed by Big Brain with 2, as their name would put, Big Brain Suzus. Like, those were so clutch.
2 fight-winning Suzus in a single fight. Just huge. Just countering every ult from Nightwings. It's so hard when your ults are getting mitigated. Nothing's really going their way in the second half of this map. I think we need to see some sort of stylistic change from them. They go the Mei, and it's working. They're looking to try and overload the enemy front line a bit more. I like this idea. If they can play a bit more of the front to back that wasn't in their favor before, because these side fights aren't going their way this map.
Tilted actually got off Soj, and Chim went Soj in place, and Tilted is on the main end. Ooh, the rock goes in favor of Fish just barely. One person picked up, that's going to be 1 pick. Suzu does not save them. The Kakai Sanctuary was used in Kern Master with the, what's the ult called? I don't know, the strike, the something strike. I can't remember what it is. The Xion ult is going to...
The Satsuka Spree, I think.
Yep, you're right. The ult that I cannot name. It is going to be map 3 going in favor of Mango Nectar to go up 2-1. Ultimately just got away from Nightwings in the end. I don't feel like the series is over by any means, but you have to win out from here on.
I think they just looked a lot more comfortable in a Sig mirror than they did in the more sort of Orisa poke mirror. I think the key difference is in the mirror we saw on King's Row, both tanks were sort of wet noodles. They sort of walk into each other while the DPS get to play. But in this Sigmar, the tanks get to be a bit more active, the supports get to be a bit more active. It's no longer just a DPS show where they get to take massive off angles and spam everybody. And when the supports and the tanks have a bit more time to shine, I think Mango Nectar suddenly look a lot stronger holistically. And that's clearly the edge they have in some of these matchups. So now if you're Nightwings, you need to pick a map where you can sort of mitigate that, you know, these comfortable tank picks for Mango Nectar, these comfortable backlines as well. So I'm really curious what they pick here.
Yeah, we are going to take a very quick break, give both of these teams a rest as well as our prod to get some water and snacks. We'll be right back to see if Nightwings can do another clutch map 5 win here. Welcome back. We are going into map 4, which will be Flashpoint in our game of Mango Nectar versus Nightwings. Nightwings did lose map 3. It was close for a little bit until Mango Nectar they got that first checkpoint and push and just slowly steamrolled it towards the end, not fully capping, but the damage was already done at that point. Before we actually go into this next map, I want to talk about some of the matches that were off stream today and how they ended up scoring out. Siren Song did beat Phantom Verdict, so they advance into the regular playoff bracket to face Black Crown, which will occur either during the week or next weekend. And Amatori 3-0's Zerial. So Zerial heads to the lower bracket. The lower bracket. Odin 3-1's Echo Knights. The one map, the Echo Knights, was not enough. Odin, the undefeated team so far, goes forward to semifinals. And Elvish Soul Knife 3-0's Patchy Suba. If you go to BPL General, you'll see some you'll see a Sigma Graviton eat that is, it's rough. it looks like Elvish hit a devious eat on that one. A lot of good matches today by the looks of it. Obviously, we were not able to get to them all, but make sure to always check out the streams of other people. We have people streaming. I think Illuminous was streaming the Amatori game if you want to go check out his Twitch channel to check that one out. But as we get back to this game, Flashpoint, Cynics and I were talking during the break. They're going to be going to Suravasa here. We were discussing how does this not end in a 3-1 for Mango Nectar? It almost feels inevitable at this point. It feels like Kings Row was the win for Nightwings on Kings Row was facilitated through a ban, right? And now it feels like Mango Nectar has all the answers they need after push.
Yeah, I think that ban was really big, and also I think even then Mango Nectar could have won that map if they had realized the answer sooner. And I think we saw them come to that answer. I think if we saw them play this Sig comp on Kings Row, could well have been a 3-0. I think them opting into the Orisa Mirror, it sort of neutralized enough people. There were enough, an Orisa Mirror, I think the game kind of becomes a bit of a 4v4, and I think that sort of favored Nightwings in that situation. It let the Freya sort of run the map, and I don't think Mango Nectar will let that happen again. I'm sure from Fish's point of view, that map felt horrible, just being peppered the whole time. And I don't think that we'll be seeing that happen again. We'll pick the better matchups, we'll pick better comps, and I think if we're gonna see a map 5, we need to see something really different here from Nightwings. Maybe a dive or some kind of hyper brawl. Maybe a Zarya with some kind of a Reaper to play fast. They need to show us something new, because everything they've showed us so far, Mango Nectar have figured it out.
I mean, the ban from Nightwings is the Sigma. They obviously got tired of that. The issue with the Sigma ban, it was based on the last map. Think back to first map. This is going to be so similar to Control, where they're going to have the Lucio back, they have the Kiri, and they just go back to Ram. They need to have the answer to that comp, not the Sig comp. Like, great, you don't have to play against that anymore. How do you beat this comp?
The key difference is they have a Reaper this time. Their comp makes a lot more sense. If they can get active with Bubble Reapers, they can do a lot with this Zarya. The Zarya thrives when she has a flanker getting energy for her, and she can just clean up the mid fight. So I'd love to see like a TP bubble on backline anytime now.
We already saw one.
Sooner the better. Okay, here we go.
There's the first bubble. All right, that's the first bubble you get. You get immediate 45 charge. And oh my lord, just from the side, from downtown, a bike parked into Tilted Waffle Shins. I mean, that should just be the fight. Yeah, Fish cleaning this up. Kuzu TP out. That's gonna be Mango Nectar taking first.
Not the best execution there. It's a bit late. We've taken a lot of damage. We don't have the same sort of staying power as this Ram comp, so we need to be quicker than that. And it's really important as the Reaper to be like edging your Wraith. You gotta stay in as long as possible. You're the front line. You're making space for your carry Zarya to walk forward. So if you immediately Wraith and walk out, you're just useless. The enemy team doesn't have to think about you for the next 10 seconds.
Chim swapped the Reaper to Tracer already after one fight.
It's okay. I think Bubble Tracer can work too, but it's a bit harder to pull off. It's less obvious when to get these bubbles in.
Well, this off angle is actually working pretty well. Like, maybe I'm doubting this, but Chim doing quite a bit of damage. Saga takes the bullet for Fish there. Fish is getting healed up here, though. They need to make a play at this point. Like, you had the advantage for a second, but now... Okay, Chim doing quite a bit of work here. Perhaps the Tracer is where Shimoran belongs for this map right now, but still Fish on the ram. Still alive, has not been dealt with, and they are going to get it to 99%. Just off of him chilling on the point.
The unkillable demon character, he just makes every fight take forever, and that's exactly what they want. And then they can come in, they're going to have basically 3 ults, close to 4. So it's going to be on Nightwings. They need to cycle these ults really well. We need to see a fight win off of basically maybe just a Kitsu, and then hopefully like a Grav pulls the fight after, and they can't get caught by any of these ults. One headshot from a clock from the side of Mango Nectar at this point is probably going their way.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about Fish here with the whole, I mean, not even for the damage, but just because you get to survive for so long. Very early Kakai Sanctuary. Fish goes down! Wait, how did Fish go down? Did they step into the Kakai and like forget that they're not going to be able to get healed in it?
And the fight win is going to go with the way of Nightwings, but it did cost them 3 ults, and now they basically only have Grav Clock to win this last fight, which are good ults, but if Sai can get this beat online and they can get a last second touch, Mango Nectar have the buttons to absorb this pressure and win the long fight.
Low-key Grav random. Wait, Overclock comes up the waffle. Current Master's going to get found, but Cobalt, I feel like Cobalt has been getting found quite a bit. The Grav does only secure 1 pick, but wait, no, wait, hold on. Did you see that?
It's like the cat gif, pressed up against the screen.
Wait, I don't know if you guys have seen this cat gif that Cinex is talking about, but that was actually just that gif. Big Brain stuck on the other side of the lattice wall, not directly in the Grav, but getting pulled by it. And hey, they got it. They only needed those 2 ults. They got that in their favor.
Yeah, they managed to do it, and it's huge for them that they got the point. These next couple fights are going to be pretty rough. They've basically blown everything, and they won't have even a pulse for this fight. So you'd expect they're going to lose this fight. They need to make it as expensive as possible for Mango Nectar. You got to stay in. You got to really hope to force a second ult here, and that is a very big spree. So Mango Nectar, they're going to be happy enough with that. 1 ult to just sort of guarantee the point flip. They're happy to do that. Nightwings are still far from any relevant ult. You really hate to layer their support ults like they did a few fights ago. It just makes you so limp for the next few fights. Mango Nectar can use Ram ult, Kitsu beat. They have fights on fights of future wins in their future.
Another thing to consider is that the swap over to the cast from Blinded instead of Sojourn is going to make Chim's job a little bit harder. Like, Chim was doing quite a bit on the off angles, but now that cast is going to be a bit more dangerous. Chim has to be a little more careful with that. Pulse Bomb almost in hand. They do have it. They're probably going to try and force Suzu. Okay, it's going to go wide. Nothing is going to be gained from the Pulse Bomb for the time being. And still, I mean, the Kitsune Rush was used. Nothing was really gotten with it. And now, Beat going to be used. They're going to rush down the enemies, and that's going to be the whole ult bank for Mango Nectar. I don't know if they needed that Ram ult. I mean, they probably
I think with the percentage at this point, it's okay, because the touch from Nightwings is going to be pretty difficult. Shimoran probably going to have to give their life just to tap the point. If even, this is going to be too early even if we make it. Ooh. Yeah. You have to be so careful with these flashpoint percentages. Once you see, you know, mid 60s, you know it's you know, everyone has to start thinking about that next fight. How are you going to touch? Because if you don't, you're going to end up in these situations where you're throwing yourself at the point and you can't capitalize on this ult advantage that you have. So 1-1 now. Again, the ult advantage in Nightwings' favor now. They need to have a cheap fight win here and to get the point. You'd love to win off of just a Kitsu, just a Grav, or just a Clock.
Blind does have the high noon here. Yep, popping it right away. Oh, good kick high, but no, you have to hide. You have to wait. Massive grab. That grab was so good. The grab ensuring that that high noon is put against the wall, not able to see the people up top. And I mean, it's a bit costly. You use your grab and your Kakai, but you get the point. That was, I think you had to do that if you wanted to win that fight.
Definitely, yeah. You'd like to make this next fight as long as possible now. Hopefully, maybe just a Kitsu, slow the fight down, try and get to like 99% at the end of this fight if possible. But running in, getting early picked up the last thing you want.
I can't help but feel like Cobalt has been first picking quite a few instances, and now, I mean, Tilted Waffle is just going for it to try and make a play here. This is all just staggers at this point. I wish they'd die on point instead of, like, trying to get out. I'm not sure that you even make it at this point. Doesn't Zarya get out? Okay, yeah, Zarya does get out. But, yeah, I don't know. Cobalt, I feel like, is getting caught out quite a bit.
It seemed like they wanted to push and take an early fight there, but they took it in sort of a weird location and only half committed. I like the aggressive Mizuki idea, but you gotta do it with your Tracer and fight, you know, the side fight. You can't be looking on their front line.
Turnmaster getting a little pressure, runs into a pillar real quick, throws the bike in. Bubble is forced, and that I was about to say that is going to be a great attempt for a Xion ult, but no. Tilted Waffle with a very nice railgun headshot to ensure that Turnmaster is out of the fight for now. Shin with a pulse as well, very nice. You need to, here's the issue though, Ram's alive. Ram is about to have ult. Does Ram pop the ult? No. Good job. That was potentially a very stupid ult used there.
But look at that. Both teams have won one fight on this point, but 70% for Mango Nectar. That's what you get from these ram comps and from fighting on point and dying slowly. Nightwings could have just won the point by now, but they died off point and aggressively. So now they need to win one more, and they have nothing. They need to build this grab. But the ults, there's so many on the side of Mango Nectar, they need a miracle.
Yeah, I just don't see this final true enough. Yep, 1, 2, yep, that's gonna be it. They just need, yeah, okay, Saga is down, it's the Lucio, so it doesn't really matter. You just need to wipe or reset quickly here. Like, who's still in? Who's still in?
It's these devious 70% flashpoint flips. You don't have a real recontest. Even if Chim somehow finds a way to tap the point, your next guy is not even close. And the whole squad is hunting him.
Yeah.
Again, so, you know, they popped 2 ults for that to flip the point there, but it's absolutely worth it because now they still have another 3 and they're on match point and series point.
They do have the grab. There is a very good chance for them to start with this in their favor and, like, they get to start accruing percentage first. It's like...
But if capping the point first doesn't matter if you can't get that full 100%.
Right.
And so far, I think they've been lucky to get the 100% that they did.
Surely they don't grab the ram here, right? Please grab squishies. Oh, Cobalt again? Wait, with the Deadeye? Okay, the grab gets 2.
Ajax.
Able to get anyone else? Wait, Ajax? Who Ajax?
The Lucio. In the grab.
Oh, no. It doesn't even matter. Does it matter? No, Fish is full health. Like, bailed out by the team there.
This comp difference is really making Nightwings' life difficult. I like the idea of their comp, but I think Zarya we're fighting, never mind.
Okay, I mean you get the pick, but yeah, you're sliding into a ram. We're also popping Kakai.
Zarya's in spawn, guys.
Whoa, we are okay. The desperation is beginning to show. I think that this is what happens when you've been playing Overwatch for nearly 4 hours. You just wait. They never got the point. Wait, hold on. The stall actually they only just got the point. Can they flip it here? Do they have the people?
I guess so. I think realizing that Mango Nectar were down the Curie, they took an extremely fast fight and they just about got away with it. So I guess it'll work. What I was saying was that I think this Zarya comp could use some speed, and I think they need to be using more sort of aggressive tracer bubbles. We're seeing a lot of these self bubbles, and the Ram is just so much more stable than the Zarya, such a stronger force on these points. Kitsune Rush match, this is going to favor the Ram comp. Good Suzu.
It's a good stick, but an even better Suzu, and now this is the speed we're talking about, immediately walked down by this Ramatra. The Annihilation is going to finish off Chin, and though Cobalt finds blinded, I mean, with the Ram healthy and just chilling, what do you do?
A mirrored Kitsune Rush is always going to heavily favor the brawlier team, and that is just Mango Nectar written all over it. They're happy to stand as 10 people on top of each other. They know their heroes are better at that. So Nightwings Kitsu just becomes like they can't even stand in it or they'll just die, which is what we saw.
You know what? This is last fight because they don't have speed. No one's going to be able to get back fast enough.
It's true.
Like this is actual.
They need to build
fight.
this grab. They got to play this slow and build grab. There's no point fighting before they have grab here.
Oh, boop! Oh my God, Saga!
Boop of the day. Boop of the day.
Saga!
That's just game.
Get out. You need to get... And another
one?
Sure, why not? I mean, Saga has been crazy on the Lucio this game. We haven't... Okay, we're
Fair enough.
We're going crazy.
Fair enough, bro. For the end of the play of the game. I get it. And there's just no touch. Even if they killed 5. Chim will get a tap, actually. They're set up for a tap, but it's going to be really difficult. They got to touch a few times, more than once. Their team is so far.
Oh shit!
Don't get a bubble. Oh. Heartbreaking. But to be honest, okay, really well played from Mango Nectar. But considering this is their 9th map of Overwatch in a row, Nightwings put up a really good performance. I think what we saw at the end of the day, the main difference maker was just Mango Nectar being more willing to play these comps that just sort of be more flexible, playing these comps that sort of make more holistic sense. They always had the answer to everything that Nightwing were trying to do. They didn't let like any sort of individual gaps sort of overcome them. They played better team comps that let them win as a team. And at the end of the day, it's a team game. They played it.
Yeah, I mean, it's to be expected from the top seed of your group, but still, Nightwings were fighting for it, but ultimately, man, just the comp that Mango Nectar had brewed up and the understanding of how to play it to its full potential was just leagues ahead of what Nightwing had. I really think that when we were talking about tempo this whole game, and because of those boops and some of those elims, and regardless of the Ajax, whatever, like, I think that I feel comfortable.
The aura loss from Ajax is mitigated by typing it yourself.
I feel like I can't help but give the MVP to the Lucio player here, Saga, because the amount of value they got from not only the speed, but the utility of Lucio here. Not only just in those boops at the end, but you have to remember to the beginning of the series, where just frags, random frags from the Lucio here were just, it was crazy.
Yeah, lots of really good push and pull on display from Mango Nectar. You know, how many times did we see like a Soj overclock kited? And that's those amps, that's saving your amp, being ready to leave. It's that awareness. All these things from main supports that you aren't seen, aren't appreciated, as well as some things that are seen and appreciated, like those boop kills and the Reddit Lucio kills on the Sig mirror map. Really well played. It takes a lot for a main support to get MVP, but you know, when it's deserved.
Yeah, I mean, very well deserved for this game. Before we end, let's take a quick look at the B-League bracket, if possible. Now that we have a lot of games finished, we can see how this shakes out. Obviously, Nightwings did make it into the bracket, but with the loss to Mango Nectar here, they will be going to the lower bracket to face Danu, who lost 3-1 to Slime City. So 2 teams that lost in 3-1 games will be facing each other. Meanwhile, Mango Nectar going forward to face Slime City Monarchs. Hidden King, Those Who Crow was not scheduled for this week, so we will have to wait to see who faces Hongsa in lowers and Blue Rose and uppers. Considering Hidden King, I believe, is undefeated, probably going to be them, but hey, we've seen crazier. Overall, pretty cool games to be seen this weekend, and playoffs is only just getting started. We did lose a couple of teams here, and as we go further into playoffs, obviously more and more torches will be snuffed out here. Looking at C-League here, Yatagarasu versus Eternal X, I believe, was a win for Yatagarasu, which it just hasn't been confirmed yet. Freefall versus Demonetized still need to happen. So Hachisuba Goblin Goobers in C-League already set up, ready to happen. Hachisuba lost to Elvish Soul Knife today off stream 3-0 to those grab eats like we were talking about. And, you know, why not? Let's look at A-League as well while we're here. A-League has also shaken out. Undefeated team Odin does go forward. They will be facing Amatori from the same group who defeated Zerial. Zerial will be facing Echo Knights. And then Caladrius won 3-0 versus Snowdrop, so they're going to have to wait for the conclusion
Real
of
Black Horse, that team, I think. I think they're my favorites to win it all. I'll just say
Oh,
it.
yeah, true. No bias. No bias from either of us there.
Yeah.
But Black Crown Siren Song, by the way, did defeat Phantom Verdict. So Phantom Verdict, unfortunately, out. Their season comes to an end. Siren Song now have to face the #1 seed from the other group, or from their own group, Black Crown, who they faced earlier in the season. Actually, who beat Black Crown? It was Zerial, right? I believe it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So it's gonna have to be uncharted territory for Siren Song to get past that. Caladrius will be waiting for them in semis, whoever wins that match. overall, I think we've got some really good games on the horizon. Make sure to keep tuning in. I know that our prod team is super excited and ready to go to spec as many of these as they're humanly possible, with time permitting and time zones permitting, I should say. I see a couple EU people in the control room right now that are probably ready to go to bed. You as well, Cinex. So
Yeah.
I appreciate everyone for staying with us, and I hope that the rest of the season goes great. Cinex, do you have any remaining words?
I mean, if this weekend is anything to go by, there's been a lot of map 5s, like an unprecedented amount. There was at least one map 6. Things are looking pretty close, so I can only imagine things will keep getting closer and closer. And we should have 3 really good finals, so gotta stay tuned, stay up to date, and pick your favorites.
Yep, make sure to tune in. We might have games during the week. I don't know if they'll be prodded, but keep an eye on pings. If you don't have the going live role, you can ask for it or get it, I believe, in a reaction role. That should allow you to catch any games that happen at unusual times, or follow the Twitch channel. We're always live doing this kind of stuff. So with that said, we're going to get out of your hair, and we will see you for the next round of BPL Season 8 playoffs next week.
GG's.